It's your one-way ticket to midnight. Call it the Sunday show after dark. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I am joined today by the beautiful and charming Austin of the Archers. How are you, my friend?
How the frick are you, Forrest? I'm great.
We're still in the first minute. We gotta get
Yeah, and that's where my hat is. My hat's in the guidelines, and I'm not gonna say any swear words tonight. Is what I just decided just now.
Just okay. Yeah, I'm gonna set a timer. Actually, timer for what do you think now? 30 seconds left, maybe. That's probably fine. And then we'll let that run, and then we'll be able to start talking about stuff. How is everybody? Welcome to the show. For those of you who are just now tuning in, and for those of you who don't know what this show is, this is a call-in show where you, if you believe in gods or angels or demons or cryptids or aliens, or if you don't believe in certain types of science like evolution or the old Earth or the Big Bang or the difference between sex and gender or whatever thing may be, or vaccines or what. Fuck, we're over 30 seconds. If you want to debate capitalism, or if you're pro MAGA, or whatever the case may be, if you disagree with the opinions and views espoused by this channel as secular humanists, as progressive type people, as LGBT friendly, as people who are not in a cult, this is the show for you to have actual conversations with people who disagree with you. And they're not always friendly and they're not always fun, but they are always productive because somebody out there is listening and learning. And we're not just here to sea lion you. We're not just here to ask you for ridiculous amounts of ridiculous evidence for every single little thing you say and then scream at you and then make fun of you for not being able to keep rational discourse while we're going out of our way to annoy you. It's not one of those. Just good conversations with really, really silly people. Number on the bottom of the screen. 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description if you are outside of the U.S., and we would love to take your calls. Calls are already coming in right now, so pick up phone and get your spot while it's available. Austin, how are you? What are you up to right now? What are you working on?
Oh, I just got back from Cabo San Lucas with my family for the holidays and my partner, and it was lovely. Really, really nice time. And I got like most of the food there paid for because I sat through a 2-hour timeshare presentation, and worth it, to be honest.
That's the way to do it. That is the way to do it.
And I'm going to be honest, they almost got me. I didn't think they were going to get me. And at the end of the presentation, I was like, oh, darn, that is actually a better number than I thought you were going to say. I stuck to my guns, and they gave me a big chunk of change for my like food while I was staying there. And so I got like most of my food covered, which was nice.
That is genuinely funny. That is actually that's actually great. Oh man, we're very excited today. As you can see, the title of the show is that this show is redacted because as we talked about on the show with me and Lux, the Epstein files are out, y'all. So many of them, and let me show you one. Right now, let me put one on the screen. This is actually not a joke. This is legitimately, really, genuinely one of the files that our government released. It is this for 119 pages. This is, I can move that over so you can see the page number there. That is an actual document that your actual government actually released to actually let you know what actual pedophiles are actually doing. And not just any pedophiles, like massively powerful people. Some of the most powerful people in the world. Billionaires, politicians, princes, and presidents actual, genuine, real fucking monsters stealing young girls from around the world and putting them on an island and raping them. This is a document talking about that your government released, and this is supposed to satisfy you. And if you think that this makes any kind of sense, you're fucking dumb. All 100 of your senators voted to release this. All but one of your representatives voted to release this. The president signed it into law. It was an actual law. Our useless ass government got their shit together to do a thing, and it was to pass a law to release all of these files. And this is what you got. This is what this is.
I mean, the craziest part is that MAGA conservatives are satisfied with this. Like, they're like, yes. Yeah, see, told you he wasn't in it. Like, that is actually what we're up against intellectually, is people who look at that and go, see, there you go. But I know why they couldn't release the unredacted file. We both know why, Forrest, and it's because all of the liberals and leftists and Democrats and anybody remotely progressive, all of the people who really wanted the files to be released would have had a meltdown when they found out that Bill Clinton was in the files. So they couldn't release the unredacted ones, because we would have all shit our pants and cried and screamed
about Bill Clinton. When we saw that's right.
And that's why. And so they were just doing us a favor.
I would have had to have thrown out my Bill Clinton hats and my Bill Clinton keychains and my Bill Clinton cologne and my Bill Clinton shoes and my Bill Clinton bumper stickers and my Bill Clinton flags and my American flags with Bill Clinton's name on them and my Bill Clinton truck nuts and my Bill Clinton watch and my Bill Clinton sandals and my Bill Clinton t-shirts and my Bill Clinton cape and my Bill Clinton car and my Bill Clinton banners, and I would have had to delete my Bill Clinton ringtone.
I got a bad time. I got a Bill Clinton saxophone that I spent $6,000 on that he signed. I don't know, like, the signature doesn't look like his signature, but I was told by the guy from eBay that I got it that it's signed by him, and I would have had to throw that away. That's
so glad they redacted those files and protected those pedophiles.
Bill Clinton, my favorite guy.
And you know what kills me is the fucking people in the chat are also mentioning the Bill Clinton Bible as well. Right. These fucking evangelical Christians with their politician approved Bible. Yeah. Just what kills me is that someone's actually what I know that Threads exists for rage bait now. Like, that's kind of what the platform has become. But like, there can't be that many rage bait accounts that are like, oh, the Democrats are all shot themselves in the foot because now we see Bill Clinton's in the file. Like, there's no way that many of them are trolling. I know for sure some of those posts are true, and some of those people actually genuinely believe that Bill Clinton is the only person implicated in this, and that Democrats are upset about that because it's their guy. And that makes me want to actually, like, jump off of a bridge. It's
There's
crazy.
A few things I want to say about this really, really quickly. While we're just yapping about it before we get into some calls. First of all, is you're right. Threads is primarily rage bait. It's primarily bot farms. It's primarily people liking and sharing rage bait posts from conservative bot farms that aren't even located in the United States, but also, like, there are millions of real people who are engaging with this content as well. But all over the place right now, you're seeing, oh boy, the Dems sure are losing their minds over this, the fact that Bill Clinton's in the files. I responded to one of these and ratioed the absolute, like, living fuck out of this account. Like, the original post got like 800 likes and my post got like 56,000 likes. And I just commented underneath it and I said, I will cut my arm off and give you $1 million if you can show me one example of a person who has done this. A legitimate person on the left who has said, I can't wait for the files to be released, and then saw Bill Clinton's name and started screaming and crying about it. Like, show me one example. And I promise you, I will cut my arm off and give you $1 million. Obviously, my arm is totally safe, and my finances are as well. I don't owe anybody anything. I have had many responses from a lot of conservatives saying, well, all you got to do is just scroll through your feed, and they're all over the place. And I go, that's not what I said. I said, you show me Don't, because I am
Yep.
scrolling through my page. I even searched Epstein Clinton and scrolled through that name search. Couldn't find a single thing. Couldn't find, other than all these rage bait accounts. But you know, the other thing that I saw a lot of, that I just wanted, this is just me on my soapbox, and I got to get this off my chest. I saw a lot of leftists because I responded to this account that was like, the Democrats today are losing their shit over Bill Clinton. And I was like, I'll cut my arm off, I'll give you $1 million. But then all these leftists were like, the Dems are not true left. And I was like, I know, you guys. I understand that. What I want online leftists to know is that conservative people don't know that. They don't know the difference between liberal and leftist. When they say Democrat and liberal, they're talking about you. They're talking about anyone who is remotely progressive at all. Anyone left of the extreme right, to them, is a snowflake, cuck, lib, shit lib, you know, like they don't even know the word leftist. Like, you will never see a conservative rage bait account saying, oh, all the leftists today on the internet sure are doing XYZ, because they don't even know that distinction. And I think that a lot of online leftists, like, they see these accounts talking about liberals and Democrats, and they go like, oh, good, they're not talking about me. They're only talking about liberals and Democrats. It's like, they are talking about you. Like, if you believe that trans people are real, if you believe in the innate humanity of queer people, if you're like fundamentally anti-racist and anti-capitalist, they mean you. They they are specifically talking about you, that they just don't know or care about the distinction between those words. There were so many leftists that were like, that's not us, guy. And I was like, he means you, though. The meme is about you, and you're not doing that. No one is doing that. Anyway, that's my little soapbox. Is like, I get it, you guys. Liberals and leftists are different. They don't know that.
I'm trying to find, there's one that what kills me, the reason why I'm looking over here, I'm trying to find this one in particular. They did release some bundles of files, and are now retroactively going back and deleting things that have been, so you can go through the numbers. Like, it has all these things in numerical order, and you'll notice missing numbers sometimes. And if you've already downloaded them, you can go find those numbers that are missing, and there's shit that mentioned Trump. And they're now going back and deleting things retroactively that mention Trump. And I'm looking for this one, Midas Touch, which is a leftist group that or a liberal group. You know, this, so it is biased from the source, but the document itself is not. That is showing this one document that I'm trying to find, which is talking about like how Donald Trump like flicking and sucking her nipples until they were raw, and how I moved to Edinburgh to escape Jeffrey Epstein. I believe this is a testimonial from somebody, and it shows it before and after. It shows it before. It's fucking horrific. What can you do but laugh? You know what I mean? Right. But like, it shows it before and after, and they literally just blocked out where it says Trump and then re-release and put Trump as a doe, as somebody that, like, you can't know who this is. It's protecting the victim, and it's like, no, you're fucking not. You are absolutely not. And like, this person is talking about Trump chasing them and stalking them around the world, and how they had to move here and there to get away from him. And they're treating Trump like a fucking victim. And it's crazy. And so I'm trying to find that one. I do have several other documents here that are similarly redacted. And so let's actually start by talking about that. We've got Christian, pronouns he, him, who says that I'm showing grand jury information when I pulled that up on the screen, which has to be redacted. Christian, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin. Do you want to see other files which are similarly redacted and are not that? Or are you just calling to say that one thing was a bad example?
I was calling. That was all it was. It's just saying that the grand jury stuff's a bad example because the New York courts already ruled that. Actually, I follow Midas Touch kind of heavily. I don't agree with their political takes because they're too liberal for me. But their legal understanding is pretty sound. So generally, I listen to their advice, and that's actually
I'm pretty sure they are
watching Trump fail.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are lawyers to begin with, or something like that. Or it is like specifically supposed to be a legal group.
It was founded by 3 lawyers. Because I used to watch their stuff during the 2020 election, which is like where they really started. It was founded by 3 lawyers, and then one guy's brothers got involved, and it became a whole like network.
Yeah.
kind of annoying anyway. But yeah, no, that was all it was. It's just that, like, it actually, the one you brought up, the one about Trump sucking nipples, is a perfect example of that. Because not only did we see the unredacted file, but we also now have an exact replica of that black page showing, now obviously hiding things.
Right. So this is the grand jury one, and just so you know, you can. This is another one. This is not a grand jury thing. This is 55 more pages of just black. Here's another one that is not a grand jury thing. This is 100 pages of just black. And here's another one that is another 100 pages of just black. So, like, fair play to say, you know, hey, the grand jury one, bad example, that's fine. But it is not even close to unique in this.
I wouldn't even begin to say it was. I absolutely, like, as I said, following this one pretty closely because, let's be honest, I thought this was going to be the thing that got MAGA to be like, ew, Trump. And I guess I should never be surprised by the depths of their depravity.
No.
I guess.
Don't ever count on that, Christian. Don't ever count on MAGA to be appropriately upset about something that Donald Trump does or says.
It's crazy to me that, like,
I hear that.
By the way, I just put the link to a CBS News article that has the links to all of the pages that I just showed. I put that in the chat for anybody who wants to look at it. What bothers me about it is, like, you know, we talk to religious people on the show primarily, and I get a lot of Christians that call in, not you, but like religious ones, who call in, and we have to argue about slavery all the time, and a lot of people we have to every fucking week. Some Christian who calls in to talk about how slavery is okay because the Bible says it's okay and it's different then, and go, well, God has higher ways than ours and all this usual shit. And I was like, okay, I was comfortable saying there's no depths that someone will go for this, like, religious indoctrination. And now I'm seeing that exact same thing with Trump. And that is why I use the term cult so comfortably with this, is that, like we're just talking about now, there is no depths that Trump can stoop to that they will not follow him gladly and feel good for doing it. And it blows my fucking mind, dude.
It's especially hard when you have family that's MAGA and you're, like, looking at them like, this has to be the thing that turns you off. And then suddenly your uncle's talking about how it's not so bad that a 16-year-old's attractive. And I'm sorry, I'm almost 30, but if you're looking at a 16-year-old like that and you're my age, big problem. You're looking at him and you're older, huge problem. Maybe we should take a look at Stephen King's It book, because that orgy scene is kind of disgusting when it's all 13-year-olds.
I used to
look at him. I don't know.
I taught high school when I was like 23, 24, 25, and I knew at that age that, like, there's a big developmental difference between even, like, a 17-year-old and, like, a 23-year-old. Like, there, you know, like, my partner right now and I are 8 years apart, but I'm 37 and she's 29, and there's a big difference between the developmental stages of, like, where a person is in their life versus, you know, like, 5 years at 15 is a big jump. You're a massively different human being at, you know, 20 than you were at 15.
100%.
It's real rough,
Actually,
dude.
It's funny you bring that up. Honestly, my wife and I are roughly that same age gap. Only I'm the younger one.
Ooh, way to go, Christian. Anytime I hear it, I'm like, hey, way to go.
Hey, you know, if you asked her, it was a weird 22-year-old that asked her out and she wasn't sure about it. So, but anyway.
Wait, a 30-year-old went out with a 22-year-old?
She wasn't 30 at the time. She was 28.
Hey, I still say cool. I like that. First of all, fine, totally fine. But also, like that. I like the reason why most age gaps go the other way is because, like, men take a longer time emotionally maturing on average. So I just say, way to go, Christian, at being emotionally mature enough, you know, to entice an older woman when you were 22. Way to go.
We'll blame trauma for that, but it's okay.
That trauma does have that effect.
I appreciate the call, Christian.
Other than
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Thank you for keeping me honest, and thank you for pointing out that one file should be taken with a grain of salt. Glad we have so many others to point out that the exact same point is there, but I do appreciate you pointing that out, because if you didn't, somebody else would have, and then used that to dismiss everything else without taking into account all the other files that look the exact same. So I do appreciate the call.
And I honestly, Forrest, I knew you'd have backups lined up for days. So I knew once we said something, that would get you to bring out, well, the CBS article.
Yep.
Well, so hopefully any Maltas watching can see clearly, like, this isn't us making shit up.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
yeah,
and
dude.
Here's the real thing is, if they had released a completely 100% unredacted file, if it had been hundreds of pages that were not redacted at all, it still would fly in the face of the fact that just a few short months ago, the official story from this administration was that these files did not exist. That no such ledger or account of this of the clientele of Jeffrey Epstein existed. This was a mainstream news story. This was the official narrative of so even if the files were completely unredacted, it's like a complete about face and a full admission retroactively of the fact that they were just completely lying to the American people just a few short months ago.
And also, this is what they ran on.
They will.
Yeah.
That's what this is also. They ran on, if you elect me, I will release these files. And then they got in office. Yes, I have these files. They are on my on this person's desk. They're right here on Pam Bondi's desk, ready to go. And then they don't exist. And then they're a Democrat hoax. And then they only implicate the Democrats. And then we can't release them. And then we have to clean Donald Trump's name from them. And all the time, it's like that meme of like where you have like the person and someone like opens their head and takes the chip out and plugs the new chip in, and then they're mad about that. It is literally that. Just what did Donald Trump say today? Okay, well, I guess that's reality. Like that is so crazy.
It is. It's
we're not going to war with Venezuela.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, we're still not out of the realm of possibility that this administration could come out and say, actually, those redacted files that we released, those aren't trustworthy. Like those, like they could just come out and even the redacted ones, like they could now say like those were forged. Those are like I don't think we're out of the spin cycle of changing this story every few days, even with these heavily redacted files.
I agree with you 100%, Austin. At this point, I mean, to say they had scruples at first would be questionable at best, but saying that now, MAGA is only for what Trump stands for. But with that, I'm going to leave you guys because I know I've taken up plenty of your time, and I hope you guys get some really spicy MAGA callers or any other variety.
Right?
Forrest mentioned cryptids at the beginning of the show, and I was like, you know what? I'd like to do a cryptid episode. Anybody want to call in with a Bigfoot story or a Loch Ness monster?
I mean, I live in Washington. I could tell you a Bigfoot story, but it's not mine. So,
no, I want one from someone who like it's an eyewitness account. I want somebody who has spoken to the Mothman on the phone. You know how the Mothman calls people on the phone? I want someone who has spoken to the Mothman on the phone. I want that person to call in.
Actually, you know what? Please. I'm going to get off the line so you guys can get that, but I hope you guys get that call tonight.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. By the way, here's take care of yourself, Christian. Thank you so much. Have an awesome rest of your day. What a nice person. Like I said, I really do appreciate like anybody who can make sure that the messaging is right. I'm double checking here to see if this has anybody's name in it. Give me 1 second, because the Donald Trump, the DOJ is now being sued also by at least one victim because they released files that were redacted to take Trump's name out of it, but also doxed one of the victims. So
that's good.
Yeah. And so that person is I don't think this has anybody's name who isn't implicated. I don't think this has any victim's name in it. This is the point. I'm pretty sure.
I would love nothing more than for someone in the cult, someone in the MAGA cult, if you're listening right now, to call us and tell us why this makes sense to you. Tell us why you're still in the cult. Tell us why this heavily redacted release works for you. Tell us why, removing Trump's name after it was already released, but not, but doxing victims is good. Justify all of this to us. Make the case. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. I think that's it. So let me go ahead and pull this up now here, and I can show you. This is the file. This is the unredacted version of that file that I was mentioning earlier, where you can see they've actually highlighted here all this stuff about Trump, about him just like sucking people's nipples off and chasing them around the world. And this is something that now has been also just every one of these highlighted things has been blanked out to hide this fucking creep. So this is the reality of the country you live in. If you're an American, is that's your president, is the fucking pedophile conspirator who is going out of his way to redact his name from the files that grossly implicate him and doing such a sloppy job that he's actually doxing the victims, which is the whole point that he said it took him so long to release them in the first place, is because he can't, we got to protect these victims. He's pretending that he's one too. And it's just absolutely fucking disgusting.
It's bad enough that even Saturday Night Live is calling him a pedophile. And that's like, they're like sort of historically, like, because they're on a major network, they are, to put it respectfully and lightly, tame in their commentary, where it's just sort of like, he's got a funny voice and we're gonna do funny voice and funny gestures. But like, they're full on just being like, dude's a fucking pedophile. And it's like, yeah,
just straight up.
I think it's at the point where you just have to say it,
Yeah.
Like,
just honestly, that's all it really is. And call in and defend that. We have several people waiting on the line right now. By policy, we're going to take our theist caller first, but then we have a couple of one agnostic, two agnostics, one person who calls himself a realist. Figure out what that means, and one atheist who wants to talk about evolution. So we got a good lineup so far, but we still have lines open. If you're out there and you support MAGA, this is your chance. Let's talk to Mondo, pronouns he and him, calling in from capitulating Aphrodite. Talking about a goddess who's just, giving into shit. Whatever. Who wants to talk about atheist morality? Mondo, you were on the line with Forrest and Austin. How are you doing today?
Oh, another day in paradise, right?
Yeah. I live in California too. It's great.
Yeah, California used to be great. Hell,
Oh, what happened
nowadays.
to California that made it not great?
Well, because people don't respect the land anymore, brother.
I could get down with that. Like, like industrialization
It's back, across the United States, but I can definitely see how, especially in California, where you've had some better than most environmental policies, I can get how that's a whole thing.
Yeah, well, I would say it's even more prevalent now, because California used to be a kind of be on its own kind of thing, and now we're kind of politicized in this whole garbage, and so it's not really the free golden state. Same thing with San Francisco. It's just once they started banning sugar, everything went downhill. Trying to do too much.
I could argue in both directions, but I want to talk about what you actually wanted to call in for. So tell me about what you're talking about. Like, what are you asking here?
Well, I don't know what was going on. A lot of this I've been following on other episodes, but more so I've heard a couple times where people talk about consciousness and morality, and I know Forrest, I know you're more of like the I don't know. I wouldn't assume, but it seems like more materialistic than anything, and I don't know if the other guest does. I'm not familiar, but yeah, so kind of about that.
I'm certainly a materialist. Yeah. Austin, would you say the same thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay, cool.
And so like, I just want to make sure, like, is you're saying how that what I have on the call screen here, I don't know if you type this or if our screener type this, is how can atheism have morality without God? That's what I've got written down. Is that a fair, like, summary of what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's fine. I told him I had general questions, but I don't know where the topic was going, and it kind of like wasn't anywhere near what I was calling about. So I was like, yeah, just throw it on there and we'll see where it goes from there.
I mean, do you have thoughts on the Epstein list? Like, do you have thoughts on like why it's cool that the Epstein list was released the way that it was released after they said it didn't exist, and after they said it was a Democrat hoax, and after Mike Johnson said that Donald Trump was an FBI informant, and then said, actually, I don't know why I said that. He's not an FBI informant. Like, do you have thoughts on all of that?
Other than the fact that they're all in the same loop, Democrat and Republic, irrelevant. It's the same thing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, well, then we're all on the same page. We're all on the same page then. Yeah, fuck all of them. In that case, we'll just move on to talking about morality then, since we seem to agree on these other things. I get my morality from the exact same place you do, which is just rational thought and culture. I live in a society along with lots of other people who have been developing moral thought for thousands and thousands of years. My culture influences me to believe a little bit of what this may be that way and everything, but I also sit down and think hard about what is moral and why. And for that reason, I do believe some things are moral that my culture doesn't, and I believe that some things are immoral that my culture does. And so I just think it out and try to be a good person to make life better for all the other people around me. And I could get more into it, but I don't know if it's really necessary at this moment, at least.
Right. Okay. Well, then, I'm curious because so like you've been in America your whole life, right? Or have you lived elsewhere?
Mm-hmm. No, I've been in America my whole life. In the same place, I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life, of all places. So extremely conservative place.
Okay. So would you say your morality is separate to your atheism?
Yeah. My atheism is one single answer to one single question. I don't believe in a God. It has nothing to do with morality.
That's what I was trying to
like I said, like I said, I get my morality from the same place that you do as a theist. You reason it out. You go along with what your culture says for some things, and for other things you might not. And you develop with your family and with your society. It's all the same.
No.
Okay. What's different?
No, my morality is separate from that. That's why I was trying to ask you. So you've been in America, and you would say that your morality is based on your social experiences, yes?
And also thought, and also really sitting down and thinking about, like, okay, why is this wrong, or why is this right? And that's why I said a minute ago, I have a lot of moral beliefs that are different than the culture that I grew up in as well. So, like, if you had asked me at like 12 what right and wrong is, I would have had a very culturally influenced answer for you that would have depended on my parents and my school and my community. And now there's still some of that in there for sure, but it's a lot more globalistic and a lot more objective.
Okay, so you would say that it's not as socially influenced now, as opposed to not socially influenced at all?
All morality is socially influenced, necessarily.
Well, do you really believe that?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's not just one thing. It's not just like, oh, morality comes from social influence. Like that, it's not that simple. That's the thing. Is like when Forrest says your morality comes from the same place our morality comes from, he means like, as kids, we are taught certain things that are right and wrong by our parents, by our community, and those are just sort of the communal norms of whatever community, whatever region we are raised in. Those are going to vary depending on what geographical location you're born in. It's not a universal that everyone is socialized with the same rights and wrongs. Your morality, comes from a religious structure that is most prominent in whatever, or the religious structure that you were raised in, and that was prominent where you were raised. But it might be different from the religious structure where I was raised. But it's still all social conditioning. And then as you get older, you start to ask yourself questions about those stories, and about the adults when I was growing up told me that stealing is wrong, that stealing is always bad. And then you start to ask, there's like really famous stories like Les Miserables. Like, is it wrong that Jean Valjean stole a loaf of bread to feed his starving sister and her child? is it so wrong that Javert should spend his entire life hunting him down for the crime? Javert's a cop in the story. He's a detective who's obsessed with finding this man who stole a loaf of bread and then skipped on his parole. And it's like, like asking questions. So, like you start to investigate these things for yourself and ask questions about like the gray area in some of these things, and you start to determine what seems to make sense to you and what doesn't. And I like what Forrest is trying to say is like, you do the same thing with the rights and wrongs that were handed to you by whatever faith structure you have, and as a child you accept them just because the adults are telling you to, and then when you get older maybe you think a little bit more about that. Why doesn't God want me to do this or that? Why does God get mad when I do this thing or that thing? And you start thinking about that more yourself. It's just potato.
No.
Yeah, so I would disagree with that fundamentally, because trying to say that I was raised a certain way and that's what guided it is incorrect. Because we all understand we're raised a certain way, but we grow and to become individuals and have individual thought. That's why also consciousness ties into this, because what you're tapping into is your materialistic understanding of consciousness based on just what's in front of you. So I understand how you come to your conclusion of what morals are and how it's affected by cultural influences. However, when you understand the grand scheme of the world, it gets way wider than that. So that's a very narrow mind of what morality is, and that's why it's like it almost seems like it's more so a narrow-minded consciousness than it is a narrow morality. Kind of follow?
Can I point out the fact that you just, in slightly different terms, just reiterated what both Austin and I said? In the fact that you were talking about how this is something that you sat down and
thought out. Culturally, how I was raised on a religious thing. That's incorrect.
Yes, culturally how you were raised on a religious thing, culturally how you're raised on a religious thing was your foundation, and then through and like actually sitting down and thinking about it, and whatever explorations you did, you then built. Okay, so you're telling me that no one ever taught you any morality, and you sat down and reasoned it out from scratch for yourself.
I would tell you you don't know morality unless you even know why you're alive. So your parents could tell you what's moral or not. That's them and their preferences. It would be great if you could actually answer the question. Yeah, you're trying to tell me that I figured it out on my own. Yes. Is that so hard to believe?
No, that's not what I'm trying to tell you. I'm asking you, did you just from scratch, no one had ever told you right or wrong in your entire life? No one had ever influenced you to believe what is good or bad. No one had introduced any moral systems to you at all. And then one day you sat down with a pipe and an armchair and said, I am now going to invent morality today, and I will now decide everything that is right and wrong for myself from just whole cloth. I don't think that's real. I think you probably had parents or guardians or somebody who at some point in your life told you this is right and wrong, and maybe they gave you a religious framework, maybe they gave you a cultural framework, maybe they gave you multiple frameworks, but they said this is what's right and wrong, this is what you should and shouldn't do, and then as you grew up, you thought about it and developed it further.
Teachers, pastors, friends, somebody.
Yes.
So you're really bucking when you hear parents. I keep hearing that every time parent, you're like, no. So like maybe your parent, you feel like your parents weren't very instrumental, but like we're saying somebody, some mentor figure, and probably multiple mentor figures, television, books, something.
Yes, but what you guys are not understanding is that I get what you're trying to say. However, when all things are converging at once, it's not one specific thing. It's all of that. So I was raised, my mother's Catholic, my dad's a Christian. I was raised independent. My sister, you can even say, is Muslim. All the religions seem nonsense to me. So I decided to figure it out. I'm a libertarian in that sense, to where I figure out individual freedoms cannot be determined in such a way. It is individual. And that's how we determine these things later on. And nobody influenced me except for just learning the world that I live in. So like the world is my influence, not people.
When you were 5 years old, were you a libertarian who thought about all these different things?
I didn't know I was a libertarian in the definitional sense until I grew up and realized libertarian fits my mentality as a child. Yes.
What I'm asking you is, when you were a 5-year-old child, were you not murdering people and stealing things and vandalizing cars and shit? because you're a libertarian who thought, or was it because you were a child who was taught, don't do that, that's naughty, that's bad, and it's going to make people sad, and you might get a spanking or whatever the fuck. Like that's all we're trying to give you.
That's a ridiculous thing to. It's a ridiculous thing to say, because even if somebody told me it was bad, it's up to me if I think it's bad, not just because somebody told me. I'm not a robot. I don't just listen to my parents.
Dude,
it was
you're
the same.
literally
Like
just
your example
repeating
is
the
like
same
this.
thing over and over.
No, I'm not. Listen, it's the same thing as like cursing, right? Your parents hear you curse, they're like, "Oh, don't say that," but you're just cursing anyway. You don't even know it's cursing. You're just speaking. So somebody tells you it's cursing,
Right.
then they teach you what
But if
cursing
you
is,
don't-
and then you have your own ideal of what cursing is, and you realize
But
that
if you
there's a difference between.
But if you do or don't do it, if your parent tells you don't curse, that's bad, they have now introduced a moral framework to you. And whether or not you
I know that's
participate
what
in it,
you're
agree
trying
with
to
it,
say.
whatever, that is
Not
still
what he's
something
trying
you're
to say, that's just what
engaging
it
with.
is.
That's just
you
all
just
we're
it's
trying
not
to get
what
at.
it is.
That's
You
all
just
we're trying
said
to
it.
get across to you.
You just said that the reason
You
why
are engaging with it. This is such
No,
a
because
weird
you're
thing to get hung
trying
up
to
on.
say.
All right, okay,
You're-
Mando. Mando.
Listen. You're trying to say that literally anything that was told to me in the learning experience is my learning and understanding of morality. That's ridiculous.
No, we're saying
I'm
that's
not.
the foundation for it. That's the foundation.
I'm saying-
it begins
I'm
there.
saying those are
Foundation
parts
is
of
what
it.
you built. There's a difference between a starting point and a foundation, brother. Like that's not the same thing.
Let's just try. Let's just try something
Did you
different.
just say there's a
Just to give an
difference between
analogy.
a starting point and a foundation? No, those are synonymous.
Yes.
In what we're talking about, in like building a personal
Yeah.
moral philosophy, there is like your starting point is your foundation. Like that's like you lay the foundation for the home before you build the home.
Or at least that's the way we're using the term. So we can just
Right,
assume that's what we're talking.
Right.
Just,
Thank you.
just
That's
give it
better to say.
an
That's
analogy.
the way we're using the
Put
terms.
an
Is
analogy.
the correct way to say it.
Oh my
All
fuck.
right.
Just an analogy. Like if
This is the most pedantic-
I wasn't born knowing a bunch of shit about science. Somebody told me the Earth is a planet, and here's the other planets. And then later on, I learned more about it, and I understood later on why Pluto didn't count in the original list that I was given. Similarly, people told me things that are right or wrong. I then later developed myself and thought about them more and decided some things are right that they said were wrong, and some things are wrong they said were right. And I have now grown my own moral system. Does that sound like something you can agree with, Mom?
So your foundation and your experience is based upon your learning journey, not where you initially started. That's my whole point. You wouldn't
Okay,
have known.
whatever.
fine.
Where does this
Okay,
get us?
whatever.
Whatever.
This is literally the most pedantic beginning to a conversation
getting
I've ever
anywhere.
had on the show. I've ever had on the show. It's so pedantic.
We're-
Mando, what I would like to talk about, what you called in for is you said our morality cannot exist without God. So I want to know where in your libertarian learning journey, I don't give a fuck how you define where. Sorry, I just swore. I broke my rule. I don't care how you define where you start.
Immoral.
Like whether you call it a foundation or your starting point.
Is the
I
right
don't really
word, not
care.
immoral.
What I'm
great.
interested in is how did you arrive at the conclusion that the only way a person can have morals is through God? How did you arrive at that conclusion?
Because you understand life on this earth is separate to this earth. So understanding what life is how we value life.
I don't
Life
know if
on
I
this
agree
earth
with
is-
that statement.
Life on this earth
That's
is
okay.
separate from this
Go ahead.
earth. Is that what you just said?
Can you explain what that means?
Go ahead. I made it a blanket statement on purpose. So go ahead.
Okay, can you explain what that means? Can you explain what life on this earth is separate from this earth means?
Yeah, as in the world would exist without us being alive.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with, like, now you must have a god?
Well, you're jumping the gun here. We're starting from the beginning. This is the whole point of definitions and understanding, because you have to understand how I framework things.
Okay.
how
So
you
start
think.
building the road.
So-
You don't have to give me a lecture on why I'm
well,
jumping the gun.
wait.
Just start building the road.
That's the point. See, you're missing the important part where you're trying to skip over. So the point of what life is how we realize our consciousness and how we exist separate to animals. So in that kind of consciousness is how we develop our moral framework based on humans and our life as humans, because we're awake, if you will, for lack of a better term.
I study life and I study humans. So like, I'm very interested in what you mean by this. I would like to know, like you said, as we exist separate from animals. That's a loaded thing to say coming from a theist. And so I just want to make very clear, we're all talking about the same thing here. You do agree that humans are animals, right? You're talking about as separate from non-human animals.
No, I don't believe humans are animals. That's the point.
Okay. Scientifically or philosophically?
A little bit of both.
Fuck. Okay. I was trying to give you every bit.
Consciousness, because that kind of philosophy with consciousness is what kind of adds to it, but also the science behind consciousness kind of adds to it.
Yeah, other animals have consciousness, but like that's neither here nor there. I'm just going to go and go out on a limb and say I'm guessing. I'm guessing that you also don't believe in evolution, right?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't believe in it. I don't think it's as likely is more proper to say.
Doesn't matter if you think it's likely or not.
Couldn't be more relevant. Like yes, yes or no. Irrelevant. Yes or no. Did humans, as we are today, evolve from other life forms in the past?
No.
Okay. So that's what I'm talking about, right? And so you're putting. Do you believe in evolution for anything else? Like there are some creationists who say that all life exists on this earth is natural and evolved naturally, but then humans were made specially by God. Are you one of those, or do you think that God whipped up everything on this earth as it is today all at once?
I think God created the starting point, but more so that I would say that the evolution that I believe in is not really evolution per se. I believe in adaptation. I think adaptation kind of got thrown in with evolution. And yes, you could say, I guess it's kind of evolution. So this is why I'm against evolution, but not against adaptation. So you could say it's the same thing, but I don't see them as the same.
I promise you're using those words wrong, but it doesn't matter. And we can get into it if we need to, but it doesn't really matter right now.
How am I using it wrong?
So,
I think personally, I'll be honest for us. I think it does matter. Like, I think it matters that he started off by being like, I don't think it's likely that evolution is real. Cause like that fundamentally, Mando, is just like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you tell me like, I don't think it's likely that there is a force called gravity and that's what like makes things in the universe operate the way that they do. It doesn't matter that you don't think it's likely. I don't care. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
What I'm talking about is it doesn't matter that you think evolution is likely or not. It is a fact. It is a scientific fact.
Well, that's my problem is you assuming it's a fact is the issue.
I'm not assuming anything, Mando. I'm not assuming. I'm not like you. I'm not just going, does it seem likely or not?
Do you not understand that evolution is based upon natural selection, genetic drift, adaptations, and all these great things? So when you say evolution is a fact, it's not one fucking thing. Use your brain. It's not one thing.
You actually displayed like more of a...
Mondo, you just described...
I'm halfway on you guys because I understand that there are fundamentals here. When you say it's a fact, it's not a fact. It's a theory based on the evidence. So I get how you feel that it's more likely.
You're using those words.
Then explain why I don't know what those words mean. Don't just blatantly say baseless claims.
Okay,
explain
Forrest is about to. Okay, listen, Forrest is about to explain it.
So a couple of things here, really quick. Of expertise. I'm just leaving a note in the producer chat so that we don't have somebody waiting on hold for 1,000 years. Okay, so fuck, dude. There's a lot there. What you just described when you rattled off on, you said natural selection and genetic drift and all these different things. A lot of those, what you're talking about, are mechanisms of evolution. But evolution is fundamentally one thing. It has one definition. And what those different things you're describing there are different mechanisms by which evolution works. And then you misuse the word theory. And so, like, it's clear to me, and I'm happy to break down all these things to you, and I will, because apparently that's important. But what I'm trying to get across to you here is that it sounds to me like you have consumed some creationist media about... Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Nonsense. So, yeah, you just believe that
Hold on.
I don't understand evolution, and I'm just trying to pawn it off as something that we don't know for sure, and yada yada. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, you
So you
just
don't understand that
you
evolution
just
explains
demonstrated that you don't understand
evolution.
evolution. And so
No,
I'm
I'll
trying to
tell
like
it to
fill
you
in
in
those
one
blanks for
fucking
you.
sentence. I'll tell it to you in one sentence.
Okay.
Evolution
Sure.
explains what we are and how we are here. It doesn't explain why we're here. It does not explain the origin. You can try to say it does, but that's what I mean by likely. It's not likely that evolution was our start.
You just again demonstrated that you don't know what evolution is. So I'm going to now explain
So then tell me
a couple of really
how
important
we
things
got
to you
to
here.
humans, right? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So what you just did, what I was saying before you interrupted
No.
me,
Don't tell
is
me
that
what
it
I just
sounds
did,
to
like you
me,
said, right? Don't tell me what I just did. Tell me how humans
Mondo,
got here.
I am trying to do that, but it is important for you to hear what I'm about to say. It's really important
Go ahead.
because if I just start telling you what you're asking for, you're just going to dismiss it because you don't understand where I'm coming from. Okay. What I was saying before you interrupted
Go
me,
ahead.
what I was saying before you interrupted me is that it sounds to me like you've consumed some creationist media that mischaracterizes evolution because the way you're describing it and the problems you're having with it are the most common things that creationist media put out about. When you listen to Answers in Genesis or the Discovery Institute or Creationist Research, Institute for Creation Research, all these people, they do this exact same things that you're doing here. So, couple of really important points. Number one, you said a second ago that evolution is unlikely as the origin. Evolution is not the origin of life. That's abiogenesis. That's a completely different thing. There is chemical evolution before that, but that's not what we're talking about when we talk about biological evolution.
Okay.
And we can get into that if you want. We have evidence for that, but that's a different situation. So the origin of life is abiogenesis. Evolution happens after reproduction starts, and it goes along that way. The definition of evolution is any change in the heritable characteristics of a population of organisms over the course of multiple generations. That is the actual textbook definition of evolution. It has nothing to do with the origin of life. So when you're asking where did humans come from, we can actually go back and look at how life has evolved on this planet. And we have just absolutely genuinely frustrating amounts of evidence for human evolution specifically. And so we know that humans are evolved from other life forms. Now, that's an issue for me to explain to you because you said a minute ago that you don't believe that humans are animals, which is a major problem. If you're going to understand evolution, you need to understand that humans are animals and we evolve from other animals. There's a whole string of animals going back several billions of years, and that's where we're from. Pardon me, that's not right. Animals are not billions of years old. They're only a few hundred million years old. But the point is, we've got this long string of animals. And, no, not really. But like that's a whole other thing as well. And that also tells me more about the media you're consuming. If you're saying that like here's these things that haven't evolved, like crocodiles, coelacanths, horseshoe crabs, these are really common ones.
Don't. That's not what I was talking about.
That all falls into that same exact thing. So all that is to say, you have some fundamental misunderstandings of what evolution is, and also how biology works in general. If you're saying that humans aren't animals, so in order for us to come to an understanding on this, we need to like find some middle ground first.
Is there? Tell me this. So in your mind, there is no way evolution does not explain. Well, sorry. Let me correctly say it. So you're saying that evolution is how we're here, and the chemical evolution is how we came. So you think those two evolutions are different? They're not evolution as a whole?
So there are some people like it's you see this a lot with like Kent Hovind and other like big creationist names from a long time ago. The people who aren't really relevant now,
you
but like
leave them out.
Is that
about those people.
They'll say, "I'm just giving you context, dude. Calm down."
So
we've all heard them, these people. Clearly, you have heard them a lot because you're parroting the talking points. So what we see a lot with these folks is that you have different types of evolution. You will have different, I'm just going to keep talking. You'll have different types of evolution where you'll say cosmic evolution is where we get different generations of stars that then give way to planets and blah, blah, blah. And then chemical evolution is how we get to abiogenesis. And then biological evolution kicks in after that. And that is one of those things where it's technically kinda, yeah, evolution as a general sensu latu term does just mean, modification over different generations, and that's great. But when we're talking about biology, it has a specific set meaning. And so, like, chemical evolution isn't actually anything like biological evolution. It just means different types of molecules come into being through different subsequent natural interactions.
Yes. So I don't know how you think I don't understand that. Well, that's clearly what I just said. I wanted to know your distinction. So answer my question, yes or no? Is chemical evolution an evolution under the same umbrella as evolution, period? Or is it two different things?
Scientific, not really. Insofar as they are both not really. Insofar as they are both changes over time, sure. But like, if we're actually talking about evolution in either of those cases, they are fundamentally vastly different things. And also neither one of them is the same thing as abiogenesis.
Well, because you're misunderstanding, you're mixing too many terms here, because obviously you're saying evolution when we're talking about biology, but what you mean is biological evolution. So don't just say evolution. It's biological evolution. And then the same way it's cosmic and chemical evolution. So I understand
that's so lazy.
My point is correcting the term with you, because we have to understand what by evolution you mean. Are you just talking biological evolution? There's not much to argue about.
What else would I be talking about?
Cosmic evolution and the
what else would I be talking about?
That is more questionable.
Abiogenesis evolution isn't a thing.
You know what's really interesting is that when I said, "Hey, I just want to know how you came to believe that morality comes from God," you said, "Well, before we can get to that, I want to lay the groundwork of everything. I want to define our terms so that we know what we're talking about." Then Forrest tries to like really give you like a defined terminology of what he's talking about when we talk about evolution, and you're just going like, I don't care about all that. It's too many words. It's too many words, man. I don't care about all that. And it's like which is it?
What are you doing? Can you get out of the conversation with this useless commentary? I'm trying to understand where we're getting to, because the whole point of this is, again, you forgot the whole reason I called in. It was about morality and consciousness, and then you guys wanted to go to evolution.
I didn't forget.
So the whole point is about
the question I asked you. You seem to have forgotten. We're way off track because of you. I asked you specifically the question, how did you come to the conclusion?
That's my point. You're not even understanding where I'm going with this. You think I'm just going out here making random points. Use your brain.
Mondo,
what we have to understand is
I
where
literally
it came
said
to
that
be.
a second ago, dude. You weren't listening. I literally covered that a second ago when I was explaining that evolution and abiogenesis are different things. And also humans are animals. And those are important things that we need to find a middle ground on if we're going to talk about evolution, because I'm going to tell you that evolution is
We're not talking about evolution. That's my point. We're not talking about evolution.
Questions about it.
Mondo,
you asked me to clarify.
No, it's because
I just want to be clear.
No,
we've all been on the same call, Mondo, and you brought up evolution. I said you're using the words wrong, but it doesn't matter.
Yes, you did.
And I was gonna move on. Yes, Mondo, go
the
back
whole
and
point of
rewind
why
the
we
call.
got here.
I'm gonna put you on mute for a second because you are too fucking emotional to handle this call. It's like I'm arguing with a fucking Reddit troll. Just you brought up evolution. You started using the words evolution and adaptation, because I was like, hey, I'm just making sure. You probably don't believe in evolution, right? And then you went way farther than we needed you to, talking about natural selection and genetic drift and all these things to try to prove that you knew what it was. And you used a bunch of words wrong. And I tried like 3 different times to move on. And you were like, no, explain to me how I'm doing. That's why we're here, dude. And yeah, it's kind of important. Unfortunately, it's kind of important. I hate that this was my first time using the mute button on the show. I usually don't, but literally every fucking time we start talking, you just jump in with some bullshit.
Mando, you're one of the most contrarian callers we've ever had, on this show. Like, genuinely, like, I don't actually think that Forrest and I are even being that confrontational. It's just anything we say, you just go, no. You just go, no, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. And then, like, anytime we ask for a clarification and you clarify, we go, okay, so you're saying this. No, that's not what I'm saying. And it's like we'll like perfectly describe what you just said, and you're like, no.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
It's just like, it's the most.
But I didn't mean that. Not that word. I need this synonymous word, not the word you use.
Yeah. So Mondo, can we just get back to the question of how do you you claim to be a libertarian, independent free thinker who comes up with your own worldview and it's not constructed by your culture or by your society or by any adults who helped raise you. You came up with it all by yourself. How did you come up with the conclusion that morality is only possible through God? Can we just get back to that question? I would love it if we could get back on that.
And that's what you don't understand. Nobody's emotional. Nobody's worried about it. I'm trying to tell you, stop talking about something that I'm not arguing because you're going in this circle.
Okay. We all did it. We all stopped. But just answer Austin's question.
Let's throw it out. Just answer my question. Throw out the whole evolution thing. Just answer my question.
Yes. It wasn't about, my point was life. So it's about how this life got here, not about evolution or any of that. What I'm saying is the whole idea of how life got here is how we understand morality.
Abiogenesis is how life got here.
Well, you just said you didn't even think abiogenesis evolution was a real thing.
No, he didn't.
That's not what I said at all. I said those are different things.
You didn't say that at all.
Abiogenesis and evolution are different things.
No, you said abiogenesis evolution was something other than just the explanation.
No, you're right. I responded to you. Because you said chemical evolution, biological evolution, and abiogenesis evolution. And I said abiogenesis evolution isn't a thing. Abiogenesis is an event. Abiogenesis is one thing.
Saying it's chemical evolution, not abiogenesis.
Chemical evolution is just how chemicals can naturally self-assemble into more complex chemicals. So like simple inorganic molecules can build themselves into complex organic molecules. We know for sure this happens. That's chemical evolution. That is not life.
Yes.
Biological evolution is what happens after life already gets started. The thing of life starting, that event is abiogenesis. That is not any form of evolution at all.
I know. I wasn't making that point. You realize that, right?
Okay, that's all I said.
Mondo.
When you said abiogenesis evolution, I just clarified that's not a term. That abiogenesis is a thing. Now we're done with that point. We can move on. Yeah, you said that how life came to this planet is what's important. Life got on this planet through abiogenesis. You have a different opinion. Tell me what that means. Where does this get us to morality?
I don't know where you're going with all this, but the whole point is, again, okay? So you understand how life came to be, how chemicals came together, and how biological animals come together. We don't have a necessary link because we don't know how that worked. We only know the chemical understanding and the biological understanding. I'm saying that when we
do understand the link. It's called abiogenesis, and we do understand it. Yes.
Okay, so abiogenesis is how we got here.
It's how life started on this planet. No, abiogenesis is how life started on this planet.
I understand the miscommunication. Is because you say that all people are animals, so all animals is life in general starting from abiogenesis. Correct?
No. I can't be more clear. I'm just going to break it down really quickly. Just give me like 30 seconds here, okay? So the Earth is 4.6 billion years old. For the first about 1 billion years, it didn't have any life on it. About 3.8 billion years ago, life gets started. And for over 1 billion years, it is unicellular. It's in fact, I think it's longer than that, but it doesn't matter. For a long time, simple single-celled organisms. Then we get multi-celled organisms, and then we start to get a little bit more complex shit after that. We have animals evolve, then plants evolve, and then we get through diversification different types of these things, and eventually, about 2.6 million years ago, the first genus, the beginning of the genus Homo starts, and then 200 to 300,000 years ago, our species Homo sapiens starts. So 3.8 billion years ago, life starts, and then it diversifies for billions of years until it eventually evolves into everything, every single living thing on the Earth today, including us, all these different species getting started at different times. Our species is about 200 to 300,000 years old.
Are we agreed on that point,
That-
and we move
this is
into
what we're talking-
We never disagreed. That's why I don't know you guys are laughing like clowns of nothing, dude. No, we never disagreed. I'm trying to understand how you see life as we got here. There's no argument or disagreement.
I'm
trying to understand how
we got here through evolution. Life got here through abiogenesis. What does this tell us about morality, Mondo?
Mando, how do you think we got here? What do you think the beginning point is? What do you think the starting point is?
I believe that, different than you guys. You guys think the the humans and the apes have a shared family through the Australopithecus and whatever, Luca. I don't really entirely believe that. I'm open to it, but I don't think we got here.
Okay, so when I said, cool. so Mondo, 2 seconds ago when I said, are we agreed? And you said, we never disagreed. And then immediately you said, I don't really think that we came from apes. What the fuck do you think are we agreed means? Holy shit, dude. Just give us a straight answer.
We didn't agree we didn't disagree on the definition, dude. Use your brain, not your mouth. You're using your mouth and not your brain. I said we don't disagree.
Mondo, what is the
we
starting
don't disagree
point?
on the definition.
Mondo,
what's the starting point?
What is the starting point, Mondo? What is the starting point? What is the starting point?
The starting point. The foundation,
if you will. Point, Mondo? What is it?
Good Lord, dude. You guys seem to be really emotional.
Question, Mondo. You are insufferably stupid and pedantic. And if you're gonna fucking be on this show and keep talking your shit, answer a simple fucking question.
Oh my god, that's so stupid.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Answer.
We haven't even talked about.
We know.
Shit. Answer the question.
What's that fucking answering, you dumb monkey? You're yelling like an ape. How am I supposed to answer if you're yelling like an ape?
Mondo, we didn't come from apes, though. We didn't come from apes, though, Mondo.
You're going to lose your mind when you find out that humans are apes.
Mondo, what's the starting point?
I'm not going to lose my mind when humans are apes because that's not 100% fact, son.
You don't know what that is. You don't know what that is.
Answer the question.
Yeah, sure.
What is the starting point?
I told you the foundation, the starting point, is because I understand how life and how we got here. So an understanding that we are not just
what is it?
Okay.
What is it though?
Okay.
What is it though?
Do you want me to finish or are you going to interrupt me, bro?
I want you to
come on.
Answer the question.
What is it?
Then shut up and listen.
You said I told you I understand the starting point, and then you started going on to a bunch of other shit. I'm asking you, what is the starting point? It should be really simple because your answer is God, right?
Okay,
your answer is
shut
God.
Up for 5 minutes. Shut up for 5 seconds. Oh God!
Mondo,
shut up for 5 seconds so I can explain it.
It better be fucking fast, man. You better fucking answer this goddamn question. What is the starting point?
I'll give it to you straight. Since you're emotional, you can't handle the long conversations. I get it.
Let's do it.
So the whole point of what I'm trying to get at is that how we understand evolution, how we came to be, does not explain how our mind and consciousness are different things. It's the whole point.
Yes, it does.
If you would just wait and shut up. No, well, that's my point. You can say yes, it does. But that's the point of this conversation.
Answer the question.
I just answered it, you monkey.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't know. I am not convinced. I'm not convinced that Mondo isn't just trolling at this point. I think the whole thing is just to get us riled up. I think it's a time wasting call. I think that Mondo, because like the amount of times that like you have deliberately missed the point and just gotten into a tizzy about individual little words that don't mean anything.
The amount of projection is so ridiculous. You guys can't even stay quiet for 2 minutes to have a conversation flow. It's the second you hear something, it's like, that's just you guys immediately.
Yeah, because you keep
saying
it makes no sense.
So the second I was talking about evolution, then you're like, no, those terms are fundamentally different. You don't understand what you're talking about. Let me explain.
Using them right.
You know, you had to wait 20 minutes on your explanation.
I'm gonna put Mondo on mute for a second more.
We're putting her on mute. No one can hear you, Mondo, so shut up. No one can hear you. Nobody can hear you. You're still talking. I know you're still talking. I need you to understand this. Nobody can hear you. Shut up. Mondo, what I know your answer is, and this is the answer I'm looking for because everyone listening knows this is your answer. When I say, what is the starting point? I just want you to say God. I just want you to admit your starting point is magic guy did it. And you won't do it because you know you're going to sound stupid. But just that's
If
the
it isn't
answer
that-
I'm looking for. So if
it
it's
isn't
not
that, I'd love to
what
hear
is
it.
If it's not that,
And also, I can't.
what is it? And if God isn't the starting point, why do you believe in God? And why do you believe morality comes from God? We should be like, these should not be questions that you have to recap our entire conversation to answer. You don't have to recap the whole conversation. Everybody watching already watched the whole thing. I'm just asking you. Forrest already gave you our answer, which is abiogenesis is the beginning of life on Earth. He even gave you the whole timeline and broke down how we got to here. I'm asking you for your answer. What is the starting point for life on Earth? Because you have said multiple times that we have to start at the starting point to understand how morality comes from God. So I want you to answer the question, what is the starting point and how does that get us to God is the foundation for all morality? Don't recap the conversation. Don't tell us what we said. You give us your answer. We are going to unmute you now. Here we go.
Did you unmute him or you need me to? Oh, there he goes.
unmuted
Okay.
him.
No.
All right.
So,
I guarantee he's going to start by talking about how we're too emotional for the conversation. I
Yep.
swear to God, it's going to happen.
Just answer the question, Mondo.
no, and like I said, we're going to leave the mischaracterization you just did there. But again, I told you, my understanding of God is through consciousness, how we understood the mind.
That's not. It's just what? Just for funsies, can you please tell me, Mondo, what question did Austin ask? Do you know what it was?
No, I totally ignored it. I muted
Yeah,
you guys.
that's
You muted
exactly-
me
that's about
'cause I
right.
figured
Okay, we're
That's
done
about
with
right.
you,
it was
Mondo.
useless.
That's the end of this
That's
call.
about
This was a
right.
completely useless call.
Well, of course, it's
Okay.
been the end since you
Yep.
guys have been.
It's just
Yep.
the fucking what kills me. The fucking we had to get caught up on evolution because you're like, "Bleh, you're using these terms wrong," and he says that right after I it's burned into my memory. Fucking that you think humans and apes share a family through Australopithecus or something. No, Australopithecus or Luca. That's what it was. I swear to fuck. Rewind the call. He said, "You think humans and apes share a family through Australopithecus or Luca?" What the fuck does that mean? Yes, humans. Just so we're clear, humans and Australopithecus. Australopithecus is a genus, by the way. There's a bunch of Australopithecines. Australopithecus is a genus with lots of species in it, and they are all apes. And also humans are also apes. Luca is the last universal common ancestor. It is one of the earliest organisms on this planet from which all life today is related. It is the one ancestor of all living things. Not necessarily the first thing in the world, not the first living thing, but the last one that then diversified it. So he's getting so frustrated. I know this stuff. You don't have to correct me. And then he mixed up what humans are, what Australopithecus is, and what apes are with a single-celled microbe from 3.5 billion years ago.
Also, when I said
everybody.
when you went from abiogenesis all the way till now, and you went through the entire timeline, and then I said, "Okay, are we agreed? And can we move on?" He said, "We never weren't agreeing.
We never disagree.
You guys are insane. We never disagreed." And then he immediately is like, "You guys think we came from monkeys or something? I don't know." But like, it just is like, oh my God. And then so like, really should have been a simple enough thing to just be like, cool, what's your answer? And the answer is, we all know what it is, but like, it's this dancing around. It's all this dancing around to just be like, I think magic guy did it. And it's like, just say it.
Yep.
Just say magic guy did it. And then we can get into how magic guy invented morality and how magic guy's morality fucking sucks. How magic guy is actually like one of the most immoral characters ever conceived by humanity. Like, it's like, so like, we couldn't even get into the conversation about how terrible God's morality is and how evil the character of the biblical God is, because we couldn't even establish terms, because Mondo is the most frustratingly contrarian and stupid caller I've maybe ever had in my time co-hosting this show.
At a certain point, like I was getting frustrated, and then it kind of just became too far. I'm still not convinced he wasn't just a troll. Like he was trying to just drag things on and be insufferable. I think that but the reason why I let it go was, number one, because it was funny, and number two, because like as big of a fucking asshole as he was, and as much as he was trying to be pedantic about every single fucking term, and as much as he was misrepresenting major concepts in biology and then yelling at us that he didn't misrepresent them, and then yelling at us that we didn't need to correct him because he understands it. The reason why I let it go is because that is actually the calls that we get all the time. If Mondo was a trolling at his hardest, he didn't sound any different than a lot of theist callers we get. And so, like, at the end of the day, it's utility. Even I don't know if he was trolling or not. I'm not convinced one way or the other 100%, but I can tell you I have heard calls that were serious that were just like that, if not worse. So it still serves the function.
That's the thing. Like when we talk about threads being like mostly rage bait and stuff like that, like I get people all the time respond to somebody and then someone will be like, this is a bot, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like it's indistinguishable from real opinions that real people have. Like even if it is from a rage bait, okay, like who knows? And but like real people are liking these posts, real people are sharing these posts, and then every once in a while it'll be like Tommy Lahren, who's a real person, and it's just as stupid as the bot accounts or whatever. And like, but like, also this thing is, somebody in the chat just said typical, like very typical libertarian, because that's the other thing is like could have been a troll, or it could have just been one of those people who is like so smugly self-satisfied with their own process for arriving at truth that like any conversation they get into with anyone, they're just going to say no to whatever you say just because it's not the exact wording that they would use. Even if it's like a thing where it's like, oh, it seems like you understand this well enough for us to agree. They just like refuse to be like, cool, I think we're on the same foot with that. Let's move on. Like it has to be on his terms so that he can flex his intellectual superiority over everyone. Like even though he has none and he lacks all self-awareness, it has to like, so whether it's trolling or not, it's sort of like, well, sometimes people who are just incredibly, smugly self-satisfied are indistinguishable from trolls because that's just how trolls behave. And one way or another, I hope it made for an entertaining call.
The sovereign citizen of theists, as what I saw Lazy just put sovereign citizen in the thing. We've got some great calls lined up. I'm particularly interested in number 16, but who knows? I think it could be a good faith discussion. Number 13's a little bit kind of whatever.
I'm interested in number 6.
I would love to hear number 6 as well.
Yeah.
Number 6 sounds great.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the leftmost number, right? Top left.
Yeah, we're the realist.
Okay, great. Yeah. So let's talk to T. Pronouns he and him. Also calling in from Camel Architects, who says that he knows there is a creative force outside of human experience. T, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin.
Hello, my brothers from another mother. How are you?
Doing great.
Having a really fun time.
That was fucking hilarious, man.
It was so stupid. It was so stupid.
Frustrating, but it was hilarious at the same time.
Right?
Yeah. I enjoy you guys' show. I really do. And I think you said a realist. What is that? I just look it up. It's seeing everything for what it really is. I've been a realist for many moons now, and I started out young and used to, go to church because mom made us and all that stuff. And then I went to college and studied world religions and all that stuff. So, I'm pretty much at that point where it's like, I have atheist friends, agnostic friends, far right Christian friends, mega people, and far left. But I just try to get along with everybody and try to understand everybody, because I think meliorism is something we all need to work for and strive for, which means
So when you say you just see things as they are and stuff like that. Like, I just want to be clear. Like, do you mean that just like the way you see the world around you objectively is just what it is, and just everybody who disagrees with you is wrong because you can just look around and you can just see it. You can just see it the way that it is. Your five senses are good enough to tell you everything you need to know about reality, or is it something different?
I don't think anybody's wrong per se. I think they're all having their own perception of reality and their own thing, and that's what a realist kind of, I just get myself, I've been writing this book, and one of the things in the book is called Step Back, and it's like to understand things around you. I found personally you got to step away from it, get unattached to everything, and just see it for what it is. I have Catholic friends, so I study them, I observe them, and then I compare what they say to the book they claim, and it just falls apart on its own. I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying, well, this says that, but you do this, and
right. I'm trying to understand. Like, it sounds like you're describing skepticism a little bit, but I'm trying to understand what you mean by a realist. Do you believe that your sense perceptions provide actual, direct, objective knowledge of external reality as it really is?
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. I would say to the best of my ability, but I'm also very open to being wrong. I've seen things and said, well, this is what I'm seeing, and then someone else comes along and says, oh, no, that's not, and we have a discussion, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to argue with any. I'm way past arguing with people at this point. I just want to hear why do you think what you do? Why do you believe what you do?
The reason I ask,
and that's why.
The reason I'm asking is because what I described is, I actually pulled up the definition to make sure I was covering it right. That is the definition of what's called naive realism, which is a sort of like a logical fallacy. It's a thing in psychology, which is the erroneous belief that you can literally just observe the universe and the information you get is objectively true. And it's like the whole endeavor of science is to get out of that. And so I'm curious to know if you're saying you take things as they are and you're open to being wrong and you're being investigative about the world, or if you genuinely believe that the world as you perceive it is all there is to know. That's what I'm trying to suss out here.
Oh, okay. That's a different kind of way of looking at it, or a different level. No, I mean, if you just look up what is a realist, that's not other things, but just that's the best way I can explain it. Someone said, what do you believe in? Well, I believe in I'm still learning this, meliorism, which means I believe in that the world could be made better by human effort. I firmly believe that. Religions
Agreed.
and governments hopefully will crumble away soon. We will outgrow these things because of logic and reason and observation. And I do believe in that. What?
I said one can only hope. I think that Forrest and I are with you on that.
Yep.
That's my hope.
Can't wait for the day that the last king is strangled to death with the entrails of the last priest. I made a fart sound because you said just look up what is a realist, and so I immediately opened a web browser and typed it in and put it in the fucking producer chat. So now I look like a fool in front of everybody on Discord.
No, you're fine. I have high hopes for humanity, and I always have. I'm 62 and my life just flew by, and I'm going, wow. But I've watched and listened a lot, and I've learned so much. My dad was a very wise educator, and I was asking really in-depth questions when I was like 12 and 13, and I studied the masters of the East and different, religious takes and different spiritual mentors and all that kind of stuff, higher thinking, and it really, to me, it's like, it's just logic and reason and observation. We know what hasn't worked as a species.
Okay. So,
and now it's technology to share it like never before. And it's like, I think we can move forward now. We know that wars are stupid and silly and wasteful, and Nobody wants to send their kid over to some land to kill other kids that are. It's ludicrous. You know, this talk. They're still talking about cannabis. Up in Washington.
So let's talk.
I think Forrest and I are both on the same page with you here on that stuff. Let's get to the crux of your call here about what about the observation of the world, and from just a straight up just this is what I see and I call it how I see it, and you know, just a very straightforward approach to coming up with a framework of how to understand the world. What about your observation clearly demonstrates that there is a designer or an architect or a creator figure, that there's some kind of personage behind it?
Yeah. Well, I know in my heart, and I think I can prove it just by logic and reason and observation, that there's something bigger and more expansive and wiser, and I'm not going to say what, because I still think that we know very little about this God. I call it the God concept. Obviously, the ones in the books are you know, we can read that and just go, that doesn't make any sense. And but I mean, you go out and stand in nature, walk at the tree, and sit under a tree and look at the animals in the ocean, and it's like, yeah, something that's way beyond what we can do and we can think of must have done this. Whether it's an alien, some people think that aliens built everything and they dropped us here just as an experiment. Somebody believe we live in a multiverse and this is all an illusion and it's just a reality we're creating with our mind. Others believe the biblical thing, you know, and that and God did this and that. But I just think, from my observation, it's clear to me that there is something bigger. And then as far as the spirit, I know I've heard Matt say that he didn't really believe, you know, we just die and that's that. And I go, well, you know, I've seen many near-death experience videos, listen to people talk, and there's, you know, very strong evidence that there's something happens. You leave and these people could hear what was going on around them and see things, and then came back, and then they weighed somebody when they died and their body got lighter. Well, something left their body. So that's the whole, you know, on what makes the
just
room conscious.
A couple of quick things here. Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you, but it's just a couple of things here. So you've hit a lot of points, and a lot of them are really familiar to us. The whole thing about near-death experiences, you mentioned like their bodies get lighter. That's not true. That was a bogus study. That they see and hear things around the room. There are actually like experimental control studies where they try to find that out. Like they'll put something above like a light fixture in the room, or they'll put something on their back, or they'll ask how many people are in the room or whatever, and they don't have those details. It is just basically dreaming. Or they have some minor form of consciousness where they're hearing something it's nothing out of the ordinary. Same shit that happens to coma patients and stuff. As far as all the stuff about like there's something bigger than this, that was very close to just what is commonly called the look at the trees argument, which is where you look at the grandeur of nature and you assume that there must be a driving force behind it, and that driving force is something natural, but you assume that it isn't. I can explain to you as best as I can where this stuff comes from and how it works, and none of it requires anything magical, spiritual, supernatural, extraterrestrial, none of that. And it just isn't as fun for some people, and so they put it away and they say no, it has to be like Austin just often says, it's just some guy. So you've given us a bunch of stuff here that are very, very common talking points. I understand you yourself are not religious, but everything you have said in the exact way you said it are ways that people justify belief in gods and spirits and all sorts of different stuff all the time. So I'm just curious, like, what sets your belief system apart from, say, for example, an evangelical Christian who says, look at the nature around us and how the mountains and the clouds and the people and the blah, blah, blah. And that clearly points to a creator. You can't have a building without a builder. You can't have a painting without a painter. You have to have a God to create the universe and near-death experience, all this stuff. What makes your argument different than those?
Oh, that's interesting. And I could be wrong. And I would love to hear what you have to say about, you know, where everything came. I mean, it's kind of like overwhelming, when you really think about it. I just go, the first time I saw the ocean, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, it's just so like huge, and just we haven't even, what I've read, we only explored like 5-10% of what's in the ocean, and you look at all, nature itself. So I don't know. I just think there's something bigger, and there's things we don't know. I also believe that humans know very little about all there is to know, and I think that's kind of a fact.
What's wrong with saying? I'm sorry, Austin. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. I think we're going to say the same thing.
Yeah. What's wrong with saying there is something bigger? It's the whole damn universe is bigger than me, and the driving force is just the laws of physics and chemistry and nature and stuff, which are totally good enough by themselves. There's nobody pulling the levers. This is just the way this place is structured, and I'm happy to live here. What's wrong with saying that?
I just want to tack on really quick. I just want to tack on to that exact same question, because you offered up a lot of different hypotheses in your first explanation. You kind of talked about how some people think it might be aliens, it might be multiverse theory, it might be simulation theory, and you even went as far as to say, I don't like, assigning like a gender to God. Like, you're not calling God like a he or a she. You're just like this thing, the concept. So you're leaving it as sort of this amorphous idea, which all of that I respect. But I would say also, like, what's wrong? What's wrong with just saying the universe is bigger than me? Like, there's all these amazing things and we know the laws of physics are how they operate. All of these other hypotheses of the why of it, like what could be going on potentially behind the scenes, there's no reason to actually accept any of those hypotheses without any substantive evidence. It's definitely fun to have a conversation about like these different hypotheses and say like it could be all of these things, but there's no reason to accept that any one of those hypotheses have any validity or any merit to them without any kind of substantive evidence to pull you in that direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I'm listening to you guys very intently, because that's why I called in. I'm like, I respect you guys. I respect your show. I watch Matt and have on and off for quite a few years now. And Aaron Raw, I like his talks, and I'm very, but in your way, you're just saying, well, it just is. I guess that's what I'm gathering, the physics and the law. And I go, okay, that's cool, but aren't you curious, like, who put it in place? Like, how did it? I guess it all goes back to the, some call it the Big Bang or the God thing or whatever. And I don't know. I mean, I'm fine. I'd say, well, I don't know. I
personally, for one, am curious. But I don't land at a conclusion, or I'm not even going to begin to be a believer or a person who feels that there's a strong possibility of one of these hypotheses being true until there is any kind of evidence to pull me in that direction. So, like, I'll say this, like, and this is a thing that's somewhat controversial in atheist circles and in atheist communities, but I've talked about it on the show before. I go to 12-step work. I'm a recovering addict, and I'm 7 years sober. A lot of people don't believe that you can be in 12-step work while being an atheist. I'm sitting here, I'm living proof, and also I know lots of atheists. I know a lot of atheists that go to the meetings with me, and like, it was a thing that was really hard for me in my early years, because I just was like, I feel like everyone wants me to accept like some version of God, or like come up, but like ultimately there's really specific language in most 12-step work that talks about God of your own understanding, and all I had to come to the conclusion of was like, what was being asked of me was, can you accept that there are bigger things going on in the universe than you and your ego? And that my answer to that question is, of course I can accept that there are bigger things going on in the universe than me and my ego. And I can stop it right there. And I don't need to take it any further. I don't need to go, and those bigger things are supernatural and in nature, and it has to do with like the architect of who created the universe. I am curious about whether or not the universe could be a simulation, could be aliens, I'm curious about all of these things, but There's no reason for me to affirmatively accept those hypotheses without any given evidence that supports them.
I agree.
Makes sense.
I concur with that. No, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm very proud of you, bro. That's a man right there. You're being a no, yeah, man. Anybody that sounds like, dude, I need help, and I'm in AA, and I have a few friends that they were gonna die, and they finally got it, and and congrats. And I go to Celebrate Recovery, volunteer there once in a while, and the best part about it is I just love hearing the talks from the people, that what they went through, and whether I believe in their God walk and how they view it. It's just so inspiring to hear that they finally found themselves, and they're finding the strength within themselves, and they've grown through it, and all.
But I completely agree with you. But I also think that because a lot of the people that actually do believe in a God, that do 12-step work, and you've definitely heard this, they will say it is impossible to get long-term sobriety without accepting that God is real and that you need God's influence in your life. And I just like to kind of snarkily live as living proof that you don't actually have to stop being an atheist to get sober. All of the principles that are laid out by that program are pragmatic principles, not magic ones. They're not supernatural. They're pragmatic steps of action that are useful in a very pragmatic and practical way. And if the nomenclature of saying I believe God saved me is useful for somebody, I don't really concern myself with telling them to knock it off or to get real. But I do just like to just live as an example of I use all of the same tools that you do. I just don't claim to believe that there's a God that is anthropomorphic, that is working in some kind of supernatural capacity in my life. The God proposition to me, as far as I understand it, in the context of that program, is: can you accept that there are bigger things going on in the universe than you and your ego? And if you can accept that, then you can start to rework the narrative that not everything that happens in the world is about you. Not everything that not every conflict is about you. Not every fight you have with someone is about not, it's just about being oh yeah, there's the universe is just so much bigger than me and my experience. I'm such a little small blip. And if I can just worry about me and my,
I love how that's just so well said. And one of in my book, I mentioned that, you could take all the great teachers and all the great masters and all that, and then sum it up in one thing: is fix the one in the mirror. And I've found in my life, that's the hardest thing you're going to do as a human, is fix the one in the mirror. Go to work on that. And the more I work on you, the more I start to, when I'm my Christian day, I would have never called your show because I was ignorant. I was fucking blind, and I didn't think, well, what do they have to say? Now I call in because I respect you guys. I respect what you're doing as humans, as my brothers from another mother, is one of my little sayings. And we have these fascinating conversations. And again, that's why I hope on all that is good, that's where the human species is going. More of this, where we can sit down and go,
we agree. Yeah. I'm still curious, just before we move on to the call, I'm still curious, given all of this, because I enjoy talking with you, T, but because of the nature of this show, is there could you try to give a substantive answer to the question, why is it that you prefer to accept the hypothesis that there must be necessarily some kind of designer or architect to the universe? What is it about, what is keeping you from just saying there's a lack of evidence, so there's no reason for me to believe in anything other than what is objectively observable?
Well, okay. In short, I look at the design of everything, and the human body itself. 37 trillion cells, and just the overall thing. And it's dude, you just gotta say there's some bigger something that we just don't understand at this point, and we haven't, obviously. Look at our history. We kill each other over it and fight over it, and all these different books and this garbage and that garbage, and now we're starting to, let down our defenses and talk and share. And it's like, in my mind, and again, I might be wrong, but I know there's just, in my soul, my very core, there's something bigger that.
So it's not
outside of
so would it be accurate for me to say, to characterize this as, it is not an evidence-based belief of yours? You called in as a realist who believes in what you can see and just what's observable, but this is not a realist position of yours. This is an emotional position where in your soul you just feel that this feels correct. Okay.
Yeah, and underneath logic and reason and observation and love, which I think those are the key to life. It's logical. Even Spock would say that's quite logical. There's something that's just right beyond our understanding, that's right out there, that set all that. There's things I look at the world, how in the world does that even work? Like, how does this nature and these creatures they're finding, it's like, where do these colors come from? And and I listen to Mikiacho and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I love those guys, Billy Carson, and I get, I see, okay, but I just, they don't present evidence that, that we've got it all figured out. It's just this and this and this. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't. Maybe someday.
I agree with you that there are a lot of amazing wonders in the universe and a lot of things that you just look at and go, wow. I just spent a week in Cabo San Lucas and I saw some of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in my entire life. Our last day there, a pod of whales put on a show for us out in the ocean. We were watching them breach and jump, and it was amazing. All that being said, wow. I disagree with your assertion that it's logical to come to the conclusion that there must be a designer. I just don't find it to be logical to come to that conclusion without any kind of actual substantive measurable evidence that points toward that gives a tally to that hypothesis. And I don't think that things being really beautiful and cool is actually qualifies as evidence.
Yeah, all I can say, it is what it is. There's that old saying, it is what it is. I see something that's just like, I don't even know where to start with. That's just fucking wow. Like, I don't know how it was made, I don't know how it got here, I don't know what, but wow. If it's God, okay. But I don't know. But I can see how you could say that. It's like, well, we can explain everything. It's like, all right, well, I'm all ears. But there's still things that I just go, I don't know, man. Is this something maybe in 5 years, 10 years down the road? I don't know. I don't know. And I've seen things,
I'm happy to agree to disagree with you on this, because it's been a very pleasant call, and to leave you to your emotional position, your feeling that just, it feels like these beautiful things ought to have some kind of designer. I disagree with you, but I'm happy to agree to disagree. I don't know how Forrest feels. How do you feel, Forrest?
I'm furious. I think that, like, I'm of the same thing, because, like, what I think the biggest misunderstanding here, maybe that could help, is the concept of I don't know. Because when you talk about, like, for example, you're talking about you're listening to these great scientists, and they say, well, we figured all this stuff out, and yeah, we have figured a lot of shit out. But there's a lot more that we don't know. And the coolest thing about science is that every time you answer a question, you develop 3 more questions along the way. And so, like, do we know where the universe as we know it came from? Yeah, we know about the Big Bang. Do we know what started that? That literally, we know so little. The question itself of, like, what caused the Big Bang isn't even a logical question to ask. It doesn't even fit in the narrative of anything we know about physics to even question how that works. That doesn't mean the question doesn't exist. That doesn't mean people don't want to know. That doesn't mean there aren't cosmologists out there studying that shit. But we, like, to a certain point, we don't even have the physics to ask the right question of certain shit. When I talk about evolution, like, we know for sure that evolution is a thing. It is a fact. the theory of evolution describes how evolution works to the best of our knowledge. And there's a million questions in there of things we aren't sure. And we are still to this day learning. Back in the day, we only had natural selection. Then we have neo-Darwinian evolution that blends natural selection with our understandings of genetics. And then we had the modern synthesis, which brought together like everything we knew so far. And then fucking epigenetics came in and slapped our shit and told us, hey, surprise, there's like this Lamarckian aspect, crazy shit. And so we're learning all this crazy stuff all the time about the universe around us. It's awesome. When we don't know something, the difference is I just say, I don't know. And I'm not happy to not know. It frustrates me. It keeps me up at night. It burns me in my soul to not know. But I don't fucking know. And when I don't have evidence for something, like I don't have any evidence for a God, I don't have any evidence for a soul, I don't have any evidence for a creator, I just say, all right, there's something that's holding the universe together. I don't know what it is. And so we're going to call it something. And so surprise, the word is dark matter. When we look up like the structure of the universe, the structure of galaxies, they are the gravity, the math makes sense, but there's a massive fucking variable in there. That some web-like structure that is not interacting with light or matter in any other way besides just being great at making gravity happen, something is there. And we don't know what the fuck it is. And so we gave it the name dark matter. The word dark literally means I don't fucking know. And guess what? That's like 25% of the universe. And like 70% of the universe is dark energy, which we also, that the word dark, we don't know what the fuck it is, but it's driving the expansion of space. And we know that's happening. And so 5%, 5% T of the entire universe is shit that we actually know what it is. And so like, there's lots that we don't know. But the difference between my worldview and yours is that I'm willing to just say, I don't know, and let it be there until I have new evidence.
I mean, totally. I said it. I said, there's things I just go, I don't know. And I think it's okay. And like you, I get frustrated and curious. I just say, yeah, but there's got to be something. And I think that beautiful. That's what humans have over all the other species. You don't see a horse walking around scratching his head going, what the fuck, dude? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. He just walks around. He's a horse. He eats and poops and people ride. But humans, we take a fucking...
Give a horse thumbs and see how quickly it gets on a microscope.
What?
Give a horse thumbs and see how quickly it gets on a microscope. I bet it'd be awesome.
There you go. You might, I want to see the dolphins. I think oh my God, those things. So smart. These fucking creatures are so ahead of us. And I wish they had arms and they could like talk in our language, but they speak fucking super alien shit. Did you hear about
I tell you what,
sonar? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you'd be a great scientist if you're that curious and you're that excited. You should dig into it more. We've got some other calls waiting and we have a deadline on the show, but like I've appreciated the call. It has been pleasant. And we disagree on some stuff, but I think it's a fun way to disagree.
I think we agree on almost everything. Couple little things here and there, but you guys just keep doing your thing.
I would actually say that too, T, that like we do agree on a lot of things. And I would say if most theists, people who do believe in a designer, had the same goals that you have of dismantling governments and dismantling organized religion and wanted to just live in a world where humans help each other be better, I would say have at it. Believe whatever you want to believe. But since the majority of theists use their belief in a supernatural creator to do great harm, it becomes this big problem. So I think I would say if one has to be a believer in the idea of a creator, I would hope they would do it more like you, T.
Thank you guys. That means a lot. That means a lot. And much love to you and your family. Keep doing what you're doing.
Hell yeah. Take care of yourself, T.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Talk to you later. Bye.
I think we got to move on to 16, right? We got to get in there.
Yeah, and also because it's like I was just checking, it's 3 a.m. where they're at, so we should definitely dig into it. Let's talk to Jason, pronouns he, him, who's calling in all the way from Ghana, a place that I've always wanted to visit, beautiful place, who has questions about trans people. Jason, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin. How are you doing today?
Hello?
Jason, you're here.
Yeah, good morning, I guess.
It's evening
Yeah,
for us, but you know, morning for you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good whatever.
but yeah, but I've been waiting so long that I kind of overthought what I was going to say. Yeah, I was just coming to ask
It's
about like just hello.
Yes.
I was going to say, you said you forgot what you were going to say. What I have on the screen is you have questions about trans people and the influences on them, like what influences them to be trans. So I'm curious to know where you're coming from.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't forget. I forgot my question, but like I overthought my like explaining of my question. But so recently, I've been an agnostic for a few years now, and as I don't know whether you know about LGBTQ issues in Ghana, are like heresy to bring up. I
Yeah.
was always on board with like lesbians, gays, queers, everyone else. But when it came to trans people, I always had like this innate, like something is wrong, something I don't understand. And I had a friend.
Mm.
He's the reason I called in. Yeah, I had a friend who told me about like trans people, their identity and stuff. And I guess through our conversation, the biggest thing I have um, is it an influence to be trans? Like, do people um do people like where as they are growing, do they look at other genders' behavior and then that triggers something in them to be trans, or is it like an innate genetic thing?
So
Uh,
that's a really good question. It's a really good question. There is,
I like
as
that you
far as
actually
we
just
know,
asked it instead of insisting that it. I actually I like that you
yes,
asked. Yeah.
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 So the evidence we have so far is that just like sexuality, you are either trans or you're not. There's nothing that causes you during your life to be gay, lesbian, or whatever. And similarly, there's nothing that changes your gender over your life. So sex and gender are different things, and we all the evidence shows us that they don't always line up, and you're either born that way or not. Sometimes for some people, it takes them a little while to learn about it. I like to compare I like to compare gender to sexuality. They are different things, but I like to compare them because they have
Mm-hmm.
some things in common. Number one, you're born one way or the other. That's it. And number two is that it's super, super personal. And so it takes a long time sometimes for people to really explore and discover what they really are and how they want to express that in ways that make sense to them. And so sometimes you'll hear people talk about like, well, this person wasn't trans and then they became trans and then they changed their mind and they were this gender and that gender. And what's really happening is that they're just trying to figure themselves out and they're just keeping you updated and that's it. And it's the same thing like when you talk to people like, well, they were gay and now they say they're bi and now they're dating a man and who knows? It's like, no, they've always had the same sexuality. It's just no one really sits down and thinks about every possible person they'd ever want to fuck and then try and like makes a checklist, right? And so it's the same thing with being trans. You're just born that way or you're not. And sometimes it takes some time to really figure it out, especially when you're living in a society that's like pressuring you one way or the other. But there have actually been studies where they did try to influence people to be trans or not trans, and it never goes well. It just increases like serious mental health issues. You can never, it just doesn't work.
Well, and I would also just add, somebody in the chat said quite wisely, I think, that there are no external influences that could really make a person become trans. There are certainly internal things, and it's just stuff that like we don't really have a pinpoint on where exactly it exists in the brain, but we don't really have a like I don't imagine they could pinpoint in me like what makes me not have not experience gender dysphoria. It just is like not something that I experience, and so my you know, I guess if you want to call it a choice, my choice to live as the gender I was assigned at birth is not really something that I was like, it's just something that like feels innate to me. And a good thing that like, I mean, people have been asking this question for years to people who believe that sexuality and gender is a choice and that it's like a lifestyle choice. So the question is like, do you believe that you could choose to become trans? Do you believe that you could choose to have a sexual orientation other than the one that you have? Like to become attracted to people that you are not naturally attracted to you? Do you believe you could make that choice? And for most people, I think if they're being honest, the answer is no, I don't believe I could make that choice. And that's just how we have to believe. It works the exact same way for queer people. Yeah. It works the exact same way for people who are, who are trans, for people who are bisexual, who are gay, pansexual. Like it works the same way.
Does that answer your question?
Not fully. So I'm sorry if I'm missing something. Maybe I got lost in the sauce there. But
there was a lot. It was a lot.
I understand that. Yeah. I understand that, like, an internal identity. Like, I know trans people experience gender dysphoria, and that makes kind of like influences them. But I'm kind of hung up on, for example, how do I say this? If someone is, let's say, someone is trans, or like they've been or I don't know, they have had gender dysphoria, I would and I said if you were like born can I say biologically male? If you're born a biological male, and you're a boy, your parents tell you, oh, don't cry, be tougher, have thicker skin, be manly, and you grow up, and then the gender dysphoria because you see the other gender, because you see the girls dressing, talking about cute things that they've seen. Does that trigger it, or do you always have it? Because my issue with it is if your outward is the looking at gender, like the way genders behave, like different genders behave, is that what makes you dysphoric, or is it just an innate biological thing that because I'm a guy, I want to jump over to the other side? I don't know how to.
So there's a couple of things. Yeah. There's a couple of things here that are really important. Number one is that not every trans person gets gender dysphoria in the first place. Gender dysphoria is just its own thing. And sometimes it gets worse with certain things like puberty. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it goes away on its own. Like it's its own whole unique thing that is associated with being trans, but it isn't necessarily the same thing. And also, I think it's really important to point out that, like, yeah, it is internal, but of course, seeing something external can play a part in that. So, like, think about what it feels like for you to be a man, right? And then if you see another man doing a man thing that you think you should do as a man, that kind of, I don't know, for me, it sometimes feels like almost like a challenge, to go be that kind of man. And I see a lot of other men who do things that are very manly for them that I could not care less about, and I actually am repulsed by. And I see a lot of women who do things that I still would associate with my version of masculinity that I feel the same way towards. And so it's not really about the gender of the other person. It is your internal structure of gender that you see out in the world. And then also the way the world interacts with you as we lead gendered lives, both, internally and externally. We develop gendered brains and gendered thought patterns and gendered whatevers. And then that's what's actually interacting with the world around you. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, to some extent. It's still hard to wrap my head around because I'm kind of new to this. I really did have I would say Ghana isn't really the best when it comes to educating people on LGBTQ issues. It's more along the lines of hate them because God hates them. So,
I'll tell you, Jason, the United States is not much better.
The U.S. is not great.
It's not much better. But I'll also say this,
we've seen what's happening over there.
Just really quick, I want to say the fact that you're saying it's hard for me to wrap my brain around this, that's not like that's like, of course it is. Like, if you're cisgender, it is going to be a little bit difficult to like, I often say, like, trans people and gender diverse people have a much better grasp on what it means to, like, feel your gender than cisgender people do, because we've never really had to grapple with the concept of being told by society, told by doctors, told by our parents, told by our friends, told by our teachers that we are one thing, but knowing intrinsically that we are something else. We have never had to deal with that kind of confluence of experience. So it can be a really hard concept for cisgender people to try to empathize with and understand, because it's totally foreign. Like when we say, oh, it's just the way that you experience being cisgender, it's like, but it's not though, because the way that you experience being cisgender is the world has always affirmed you as a man since you were born, and it's never been questioned, and you've never questioned it, and it's a very different experience, and it's something that like only people who have actually lived in the body of have actually experienced a gender diverse experience can really know. So it's okay for you to be saying, I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around this, because if I'm being completely honest, it is something that like I simply cannot actually intrinsically know the way a trans person knows it. Like I have to take their word for it, because I know enough of them that I just believe them. Like I just believe when they're telling me their experience, it seems to be legitimate. Like it just doesn't seem, and all of the observable data that we've done on it seems to corroborate the experience that they're communicating.
I think it's kind of like if you have a native language and then if you learn another language later on in life, people, when you learn another language later on, like it's not something you're raised with, learning as a second language, you often like really, really think about that language way more deeply and speak it more carefully and better and everything than someone who's a native speaker who has kind of a flippant slang type, whatever, you know what I mean? I in English, I don't think about a lot of words and what they mean unless I have an occasion to. But when I'm learning Spanish, like I'm thinking deeply about the etymology of the word and where it comes from and what it really connects to. And I'm very careful about how I'm speaking. And it's kind of the same way I feel like I just use that as an analogy for trans people. They have the gender that everyone just assumes they are, but then they have to carefully think about their own gender in ways that cis people don't, like Austin is saying. It just makes them better at that whole expression thing.
Well, and I also really quickly just want to respond. I just want to respond to something that I'm seeing in the chat, just to clarify my statement, because a lot of people are saying it's not hard to understand trans people. We just are the gender we are. I fully agree. It's not hard for me at all to accept that a trans woman is a woman and that a trans man is a man. Like all of my friends that are trans, I'm not like, how do I get around the fact that it's not hard? It's a very, very simple concept. What I'm saying is a cisgender person can't always understand what it feels like to know you are one thing on the inside, but have the entire world telling you are something else. That's the part of the experience that I'm saying cisgender people can be ignorant to. I'm not at all saying that like it's hard for me to accept that trans people are the gender that they are. Like that's not hard for me at all. I completely agree. So I just want to make sure I'm clarifying that.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think? Does this make sense to you?
Well, yeah, it does. It does. Like I said, this is again a new topic to me. Then I just have like one other thought. So for at least for a good number of people, some people generally, at least in Ghana, most people believe that trans people are mentally ill. Like my parents are like hardcore Christians, and me being agnostic like drives them crazy. But the whole thing is, so with it, I'm just thinking, I don't really know how to have this conversation with my parents about any of this, mainly because it's like the assumption is trans people are crazy. And there's like, my dad brings up this example constantly of there are people who like maybe they identify as a woman or a girl, and then they behave what some would deem like masculine, but they would never trade their gender identity. So that's what happened. That's what even brought the discussion with my friend, and this is the cycle I keep going through my head. So like in like let's say a gender neutral scenario, like let's say someone is brought up gender neutral, they have not really been presupposed to be, oh, you're a boy or guy, do this, you're a girl or guy, do this. Like I don't know. Do you think like I'm not trying to be like I said, I'm trying to be careful here. Would trans people cease to exist
If what happened, would they cease to exist?
If it was neutral, like if everybody grew up gender neutral, not really presupposed to you a boy do this, you're a girl do this.
I don't. I'm just being.
So. I know it's a very weird way to phrase it.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't know, but I don't think so. Because like gender is a phenomenon that we see across like all cultures. So like everybody in the world, they have, these gendered expressions and they change over time. So like one of the reasons we know that gender is a social thing and not a biological thing, not an entirely biological thing. Of course, there's biological components, but like one of the reasons we know it's a social thing is that, we see gender norms and expectations and behaviors and all these things change over time in societies, across societies, but there's always something there. And there's always blending people in the middle. There's always trans people. We have trans people throughout history. And so I don't think that they would just, for lack of a better word, go away, because you're always going to have the possibility of some incongruence between your mind and how you're behaving and how everybody else is. And so saying we raise kids in gender neutral ways, sure, but adults are still going to exist and people are still going to fall on a spectrum of how they identify with themselves. And so I feel like there's always going to be that variable in there. But I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah. Okay. Then. Yeah, that's. I guess I'll look into it more because, like I keep saying, I know I'm repeating myself, and my head is pretty much up in the air because it's like 3 a.m. But my flaw for okay, all right.
Could I just address one other thing that you talked about? How you talked about your father thinks that people are crazy or that it's a mental illness. This is a thing we see a lot.
Yeah, he thinks.
Yeah, it's a very common slogan in the United States that transgenderism is a mental illness and that like we are enabling mental illness by legitimizing the idea that transgender people are real and valid. And I have to be absolutely 1,000% clear here. There is no evidence that supports this assertion. There is nothing, and I do not believe at all that it is a mental illness. However, I also would just say, like, I don't know of I've never met a person who isn't living with like several comorbid or is not living on the spectrum of several comorbid mental illnesses. Like everyone is dealing with things like depression, anxiety, at least at a base level. Then there are people with BPD. There are people with narcissistic personality disorder, with bipolar disorder, and there are different bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and all of these different things. And in all of these different cases, we don't have like massive movements of people who are trying to take away the human rights of people with panic disorder and going, well, panic disorder is a mental illness. Therefore, we need to make sure that we make everyone with panic disorder a second-class citizen. Like, even if we granted them the argument that somehow this is some kind of disordered behavior, it still would not justify the vitriolic hatred and bigotry and cruelty that society insists on inflicting on these people. And again, I really need to clarify, I do not believe it is a mental illness. I do not believe it. It does not need to be treated or anything. Like, the only way to treat it is with gender affirming care and just for everyone to be really cool and chill about the fact that gender diversity is real and it is scientifically backed up. But my point is, even if it were, there's no reason to treat people the way that we treat trans people just because they're dealing with a mental disorder. Like it does not justify our reaction to them. And again, it's not a mental illness. I'm just arguing from the position of even if.
It's an important point to make for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of like we used to classify homosexuality as a mental illness as well. And it was up until 1973. I had to double check here. In 1973, we suddenly millions of people were cured from a mental illness they never had in the first place because we just kind of realized, oh shit, this isn't actually an illness. This is just how people are. So, with your parents, maybe you'll never get through to them. Who knows? Maybe they're set in their ways. But there's a lot of really great resources out there. If you want to talk to real trans people and just ask them, how do you feel and what is this like? We have a show called the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I believe it's on Thursdays. You should totally call in there because you've been really, really cool and respectful about this. You've asked great questions, and it's clear that this is something you're really thinking about and trying to understand, and that's awesome. So if you want to talk to trans people themselves, you can call in that show too, or check out, there's a million great advocacy groups. If you look up, place on the internet where you can learn from, by trans people, for trans people, learn about them and what they're going through, study up on the science behind it. It's really cool stuff, dude.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll try and call in on Thursday too, but like I said, it's again, I'll leave you guys to get to other callers soon. Thank you again, Forrest. Love the YouTube videos. Austin, I don't see much of you. If you have a YouTube channel, let me know. And yeah,
he does.
I guess I'll let you guys go.
He's asking me. I thought he was saying that to you. Yeah. You can find me, Austin Archer, on YouTube if you want to watch my videos.
Okay. Then thank you guys so much. Again, thanks for all the work you do. This is my first time calling in. I've tried to call in like years before, but never really got the free nights to do it like this. So thanks to you, Forrest, and the line, and Matt Delahanty, one of my, at least the biggest reasons why I'm agnostic right now, and probably the biggest eye opener to like a whole different way of thinking than just Bible says so, than just my parents say so. You guys have been a very positive influence in my life, and going through college right now, seeing how many people don't have access to to critically think about this stuff is really good. I hope one day Ghana will actually follow up and become more secular, but far from it.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys for what you've done.
It's such a cool place, and I hope so too. Seriously. Thank you so much, Jason. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Hey.
Another clarification. Maybe I need to stop reading the chat during the show because it is this thing. It's the thing I was talking about earlier, where this person was like, Democrats are freaking out about Bill Clinton being in the Epstein files, and I was like, I'll cut my arm off and give you $1 million if you can find me anyone on the left who's doing that, who said release the Epstein files and then freaked out about Bill Clinton, and then all these leftists were like. Democrats aren't the left. And I was like, I know, but this person means that. It's like being public facing and having an audience. You have to be so very specific with your language at all times. And if you forget anything, if you miss any details, the audience is right on it. Like I said earlier, I said, people in the United States say that transgenderism is a mental illness. And then people in the chat were like, transgenderism, Austin? And I was like, I literally said, conservative people in the United States. I was saying what they
called it a slogan, yeah.
And I'm saying what they say. I'm not saying that. I'm using their words, but people were like, he just used the word. You're not. And I'm like, no, I'm it's it is so hard. I just want everybody in the chat to know, you come up here and do this one day and see live in person how tough it is to try to remember how many things you need to clarify for an audience that is so ready to be if I find one thing wrong with what you're saying, if I find one thing wrong, I will be there lightning quick. And it's I feel
No, I was going to say, have you ever, I'm sure you've heard this term, the bean soup comments or just bean comments.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a whole, so on TikTok, for those who don't know, this term originated on TikTok, where there's this woman who posted a video about her favorite bean soup recipe. And she's like, I put these beans and these spices and blah, blah, blah. And the comment section was full of people. Well, what if I don't like beans? What if I'm allergic to beans? You should really be more sensitive to people's disabilities and eating disorders and their limitation. Like, why? What about people who can't afford beans and just raking this poor girl over the coals because she didn't have a 30-minute caveat at the end of her video. Like, and if you don't like this spice, and if you don't like I did the same thing. I did a video about how to cook tortilla soup, and I was making fun of my friend Scotty, and like I did this whole thing, and people are like, well, what if I don't like cilantro? Then don't fucking eat it. What do you want me to say? Like, like that's, you really need everything to be specifically about you. And that's exactly what Austin thought. Here's, show me someone on the left who does, well, what about this kind of leftist? What about that guy? And it's like, fuck you forever. I hate that I have to remember all of this.
It's always
tasking.
Like same team, guys, same team, guys, same team.
It's just
remember, same team. Yeah,
it's so hard, and Austin is absolutely right as well. That like what a thing to complain about. I fucking love my job, but one of the hardest parts about my job is exactly that. Literally, in every single moment, I have to think of how any possible thing that I say can be taken out of context. If I'm not missing this detail, that tiny detail, it's why all the time you'll hear me. I'm like, okay, so this comes from this, which just in that call with that one dude who couldn't fucking calm down. I was like, so this claim comes from these people for these reasons, and what it usually means is this. And I'm saying that so that when I correct it, he can't come back and be like, well, you missed this other like, I'm trying to get ahead of it because I can read the comment section before I even put the video out at this point, and I know what it's going to look like. It sucks. A really good example that happened recently was I was making a movie about, or not a movie, a video about the mass casualty event at Bondi Beach, and first of all, I said it Bondi. I should have. I knew it when I was making it. I was like, I should go look this up. I should go make sure that I have the pronunciation correct. And I said Bondi because of Pam Bondi. That's just what my brain auto fills it in with. But it's Bondi Beach. And also, I had made some posts earlier about like how this clearly demonstrates that that common sense gun law reform works, that the fact that the frequency of events like this in Australia is so low is evidence that gun law reform works. And that was what my post was about. But I had several Jewish people in my audience reach out and be like, hey, when you talk about this, would it kill you to just like also mention that this is anti-Semitic hate crime, and to mention and to not forget our grief? And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Absolutely. So I made a video where I was talking about how like conservatives have the complete wrong take about this. They're all going, see, Australia banned guns and it still happened. First of all, Australia didn't ban guns. They just have stricter regulations on their firearms than we do in the United States by a wide margin. Also, they had loosened those regulations in that region a few years before this happened. So it was just evidence that it's like, actually, you guys are getting the complete wrong take. Common sense gun law reform absolutely works. That is the takeaway from this story from a legislative perspective. But I started that video by making sure to like clarify, before we talk about anything, I want to make clear that this was an act of anti-Semitic hatred. But I put in the phrase white supremacist anti-Semitic hatred. And it was before I actually had clarified that the shooters were Islamic. And so then it didn't matter anything else I said in the video. People were like, you mispronounced Bondi and you said white supremacist. And I was like, but the rest, I'm like, that's not even the point of the video. Like the whole thing though. Yeah.
Yep. The whole thing was out. Everyone literally was like, whole video's gone. Whole video's out.
I once pulled down a video about silicon, the element, because I accidentally said silicone, and I was explaining the real shit about silicon. And silicone is a compound that's used. And it's like, okay, great, thank you. Literally everything about the element, though, right? Literally everything else, but every single comment was even pronounced it wrong. It just, it sucks so bad. By the way, you said you made a video, not a movie, and somebody put in the comments, I would watch a movie made by Austin. You can. Horizon, an American saga. He wrote, directed, and starred in it. So go check that one out. It's pretty cool.
You can see me in lots of movies. You go check my IMDb, and you can watch me in The Night Clerk right now on Netflix. It's with Ana de Armas and Ty Sheridan and John Leguizamo. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know if your camera shit the bed or if my internet crap. What is it called that you're in on Netflix right now?
It's called The Night Clerk. It's a movie I made like 7-8 years ago, but it's on Netflix. Yeah. But
Hell yeah.
people can go watch that if they want to see me there.
There you go.
Also, I know that we're not quite at mug time, but like I've got my fresh squeezed adrenochrome here that I'm drinking out of my line mug, and I know that eventually we're going to be doing things with that. So just keep an eye out, you guys.
Mine hasn't come in yet. Mine
came in today, and I'm really excited about it.
Also, shout out to Kelly in the chat, who, apropos of absolutely nothing, no one was talking about any of this, just threw out here for all of us to see. I love sticking my fingers in black olives and holding up my jazz hands in glee. Right on. Glad you're here, Kelly. I hope you're having a great day. Do it for me. Do one of those for me tonight.
Amazing.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calls left. And none of them are theists, and lines are closed. We took all of the one theist call we got was the dude who we couldn't even tell if he was trolling. But we've got some stuff to work with here. Do you have a preference, my friend?
I mean, maybe 24, since it's an agnostic.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
And I'm curious about what this question means. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk to Hayden, calling in from...
I love tiny nipples.
Who wants to ask if atheism is sustainable. Hayden, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin. How you doing today?
Hello.
Hello.
Hayden, you there?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
What do you mean by your question? Is atheism sustainable?
Yeah, it was a bit. It was worded a bit weird. I was just asking, like, how do you guys feel that it, like, do you think that recently I deconverted from Christianity? I was wondering, do you think it gives you a good life? Like, do you feel content knowing that this might be all there is?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do we feel content knowing that this existence, as far as we can tell, is all there is? Is that your question?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. For me, at least. There's this movie that just came out from A24 called Eternity. It's just a romantic comedy, lighthearted. It's fun. I enjoyed it. But like, as an atheist sitting in the theater, and they're doing this kind of like, they're walking this like tightrope with the screenplay, because they've got to appeal to a ticket buying base that it is going to be largely theistic, just statistically speaking. And they've also got to find room for people like us. So like, they've got to sort of walk this line where they're like, we're not making any specific claims about what the afterlife may or may not be. This is obviously like a largely just kind of silly goose time. The movie's not taking itself too seriously. It like, don't think too deeply about it. But I was sitting in the theater, and all I could think about the entire time was like, because the movie's about like, you go to this little hotel after you die that's like a limbo, and you have to choose an eternity that you're going to spend the rest of forever in. And it's like being at a hotel where different places are advertising to you with pamphlets, and they've got booths where you can talk to them about what their eternity is like. But the thing that I couldn't get away from is just this thought of like, anything, no matter how cool it is, for eternity would eventually become torture. If there is no way out of it, even if it's the coolest place imaginable, like think about in an 80-year life or a 90-year life on Earth, how often humans go on vacation and leave and go to and seek out different landscapes. Like, humans in just 100-year span crave a lot of variety. Like, we want to have different experiences. We want to eat different kinds of food. If you were stuck in one place forever, I think within 5 years, you'd be like, I hate it here. I'm done. I want to go somewhere else. And if heaven is a place that you go to, like, and you're there forever, I think even if heaven was like a map that was 1,000 times the size of the earth, I think after like 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 years, you'd be like, that's enough. That's enough. I've learned enough things. I've had enough epiphanies. I've gone insane and come back from being insane like at least 600 times. And I think that's enough. I can't conceive of an existence that goes on forever where at some point I wouldn't think I'm done now. And so I really am. I think the finite nature of my existence is what makes it special. I think the fact that I have a finite amount of experiences that are available to me is what makes those experiences special. I think the fact that like I am only the son of the people who I'm the son of, and the sibling of the people who I'm the sibling of, and the romantic partner of the people, like all of that stuff is what makes it special. And I'm very much so at peace with that as I can be. How do you feel, Forrest?
Similarly, yeah, I would say that like even just not even going to the philosophical side of things, like or the theoretical, everything. It's just like knowing that my life is going to end and that there isn't anything else like that. That's a huge motivator for me to work hard and to enjoy the time that I have. And yes, it leads to some anxiety. I am constantly, every time I am working really hard, I'm upset that I'm not enjoying my life and slowing down and soaking up the time that I have. And every time I sit down and enjoy the time that I have, I'm upset that I'm not working really hard and creating something great with the time, and finding that is a weird balance. I remember one time when I was a teenager, I asked my grandmother about that because she was a wise woman. And I was like, how do you figure this out? And she said, the fact that you're worried about that just tells you that you're smart. So shut the fuck up. And I was like, okay, that was their advice. Just deal with it and move on. And so, yeah, it's not easy to be, chill all the time. Sometimes there is some discomfort, but that would be the same thing if you believed in an afterlife. You'd be worried about if you were going there and all these other things. Life is an anxious experience. We are molecules with problems, and so with all of us, just trying to do our best and get through it. As an atheist, I make it a point to enjoy every moment that I have to the best of my ability and to be very careful about how I spend my time. The reason I do this show is because I believe it is benefiting people. I believe it is doing something good in the world. If it was just me, just doing mental masturbation on screen for fucking 3 hours a week, I wouldn't do it because I have better shit to do. I've got, this one life. I have this one opportunity to not fuck it up, to do my absolute best. And so I am going to not, I guess I'm trying to avoid the closest thing to hell that I can imagine, which is being on your deathbed and being surrounded by the phantoms of everything you could have been and knowing that you let all those people down. Like, I just want to be the best fucking me that anyone's ever heard of. I don't want to be the next Bill Nye, the next Neil Tyson, I want to be the first best Forrest Valkai the world's ever seen. And I want to die because I think that death at the end of a really good life is like sleep at the end of really a hard day's work. It's a satisfying and happy thing that you're okay with, That's my thought anyway.
Yeah, I think that's good. All I was just kind of asking for you guys, and it's probably varies both of you, but let's say you had your own set of values. So how did you come to those conclusions? Is that like a driving force behind those conclusions? If that makes any sense?
Yeah. Justin,
how do we come to conclusions about our values as a driving force?
That one, yeah. Is that like a god or some sort of entity?
Oh, yeah, this is actually how we kind of started our night on the show. but it was with a caller who we couldn't even get to the actual conversation about how to like
right.
We sort of agreed that it starts out with the foundation is you're born somewhere, and whatever culture you're born in whatever geographical region you're born in is going to have some cultural practices and cultural norms about values and morals and ethics, and they're going to be imparted to you in various ways by teachers and different mentor figures, religious ecclesiastical leaders, your parents, aunts and uncles, friends, these kinds of things. And then as you get older, you're going to take that amalgamation of lessons and you're going to start thinking about them and thinking, why is this thing bad? Like I was taught that masturbation is really, really bad. It was like one of the worst things you could do. And then as I got older, I started thinking about that. Well, what about it is so bad? A, why is God so concerned about that? And B, why is he making me so horny if I'm not supposed to be so horny? And then I started thinking also, if everyone's doing it, it's kind of like getting mad at people for pooping. That doesn't make any sense. If it just seems to be like a biological imperative, so anyway, that's just a silly example that I'm using. But how do we arrive at just sort of our fundamental core values that push us through life? Yeah, it's just through that process. It's just thinking about it. It's just asking yourself why you feel that certain things are bad and why you feel that certain things are good, and why and then trying as hard as you can to, through critical thinking, come up with a framework of okay, I've landed at what things I actually think are bad and wrong, and what things I actually think are no big deal, and what things I actually think are nuanced, where in some cases they can be problematic and in some cases they can be good. And I will try as best I can to be honest about those conclusions. And then you just sort of live accordingly, knowing that you are going to occasionally violate your own code, and you're going to feel bad about that, and you're going to have people to apologize to, and you're going to have people to be accountable to, and things like that, and so on and so forth. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, so somebody just put something in chat, and I'm gonna be a weird fucking person and read what I said out loud. Somebody said that they don't know even how to try. I'm trying to find the exact comment here, but they said, I don't know how to try to become better. Here we go. I don't know how to try, how the hell to try to do good and be better. And what I responded in the chat, and what I'm saying now is just trying is the whole point. If you don't know how to try to try, and then see what you learn from that. And I feel like what Austin just said is really important too. You're just gonna have to do your best. You will fuck up, and then you do better, and you learn as you go. And the journey is the whole thing. It's if you're trying to live your life in such a way that you arrive at this perfect destination, then you'll really live for 5 minutes at that destination, and then you die confused. I would rather all of this be part of it. I am so fucking happy, Hayden, that I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20. I grow what a miserable experience to go a whole year without developing as a person, changing your mind on something, developing better morals, stopping doing a bad habit, developing a good habit. That's the point of all of it. So just don't worry about perfection, worry about pursuing it. And that's way more fun.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that the reason why I chose this specific question to ask was because I'd say that death or deconverting has been one of the things that I've had to sort of go through. I had to realize some of these beliefs I had previously were really bad. They were very, I think it's something I had to kind of realize that it's kind of like a shock. I realized that certain things that years ago I thought were wrong. I no longer think that they are, which is, I guess, something that's strange for me. It's kind of do you ever feel like you feel comfortable with your own values? If that makes any sense? I know I sound like I'm incoherent right now.
Sure.
You're asking, do we feel comfortable right now with our values?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I sometimes feel like I'm gonna upset or if God's out there or something.
No, I do. I feel very. I mean, it's the reason why, and I think we both do. I think it's the reason why we do what we do is because we feel fairly confident about our moral and ethical framework, and we feel confident in our ability to defend it too. And that's why we get on this show and say, if you think that we are wrong, let us know how. And, you know, if you like, I mean, obviously a lot of what we're talking about is just a belief in supernatural deities and like, are we wrong to disbelieve in that? But we also often in this show get into conversations about moral philosophy and ethics. And, you know, I mean, we have conversations with people who like think it is bad morally and like to be gay, to just be attracted to people of the same gender as you. And I don't think that those people have spent any serious amount of time actually thinking about why they think that. I know that I know why they think it. I know that it was taught to them from the time that they were very young, but I don't think that they've actually spent any considerable amount of time thinking about it beyond someone told me and I believed them. And I feel much more confident in my position on something like that than I believe a theist should feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And it's not that I don't think that I found new morals that are good. It's just kind of strange that like it's like the world's entirely different now. It's like looking at a different book, or it's strange.
Yeah, I also think like part of my value system and part of my ethics is always being open to the possibility that I might be really wrong about something, because I have been really wrong about so many big things so many times in my life. It has become a part of my personal value and ethics system to remain vigilant about that, to always keep sort of one eye trained on, is there something I'm missing here? Is there something that I can do better on? Is there, you know, so that because I don't want to fall into the trap of thinking I got this shit all figured out, because I think that leads to a certain moral degradation as well.
Mm. Yeah, it makes complete sense. Well, that's really all I wanted to ask you guys. So I think I'm going to wrap the call up here.
Right on.
Cool.
Well, it was a great
Right
call.
on.
Hayden, thank you so much for calling in. Good luck on your journey. I see the last time you called in, you said you were a theist presenting proof of the Bible. Yeah. So good on you for your deconstruction so far. This is great.
That was a good one. Yeah. It's because I took your tip and I went to the Freedom from Religion Foundation and I talked to them.
Righteous.
We love to hear that. We love to hear it. And I also know, I want to just say this. I might be totally off base here, but it seems like you're in a process where you're kind of struggling to just figure out like, okay, I lost the thing that meant everything to me and that described what the world is to me. What now? That's very common for people in an early process of deconstruction. You're right where you should be. It's okay. Things are going to start to level out and make more sense. And the hard part, you did the hard part. You were very brave and courageous to actually investigate this stuff, and just keep moving. You know, you'll keep figuring things out.
You're doing a great job, man. Seriously, keep on it.
Thank you guys.
All right. Take care, Aiden. Bye-bye. Just banger after banger tonight. We got that one bullshit call out of the way, and it was really fucking funny. And now we got all these great ones.
I screamed at Mondo, and now it's chill.
Exactly. You fixed it. You fixed the problem we had, and now it's good.
Yeah.
To the person in chat who said, I'm an ENTP, the Myers-Briggs personality test is not a serious scientific thing. I'm not a psychologist, but we have people with psychology training on this show. Ask Roxanne next time you see her about it. She has a doctorate in psychology. It is, as far as I know, complete pseudoscience. Also, the last time I took that test was when I was like 17 or 18 years old, I think, and I'm an ENTJ, not an ENTP. Fix yourself. How dare you say this about me? But whatever.
that is pseudoscience, but love languages, that's established fact.
That's real. And learning styles as well. Real. Those are also, that's totally real. Totally real.
Yeah.
We've got 4 callers left for the end of the show. I am curious about, I think number 22 has a question for both of us. That'd be pretty cool. number 5 and 19. I can knock those out pretty quick because they're both about evolution. And then I think number 21 looks particularly interesting. Do you want to start with 22 since it's a question for both of us?
Sure, let's do it.
Sweet chicken. Let's talk to Chris. Pronouns they and them, calling in from Poland, who has questions for both of us. Chris, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin. How are you doing today?
Just PG. Hi guys. Nice for you to take my call. How are you?
Nice for you to call in.
We're doing well. So what did you want to talk about? You had questions for each of us.
I'll be right back while you do yours.
Yeah, I had questions for the both of you. So, Austin, I have a question regarding that 12-step program because I'm also a recovered alcoholic. So I've been 5 years sober now, and
congratulations.
Thank you, and same goes to you, my friend. And I've been I've went to the AA group, went through the AA program at some point, and it did help me at the time when I needed it the most. But then I went to therapy because shit was really, really serious. And I don't know. I'm just curious. What are your views, because you're still attending AA, right?
Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, cards on the table, my attendance and my day-to-day program is much less over the last couple of years than it was in, say, my first 2 or 3 years, and I think that's pretty common. Like you said, when it's new and it's really, really hard, you're gonna really cling to it really tightly. I try to keep going because I've just seen enough people who go out after 10 or 15 years, people who relapse, and the story's always the same. Every time I talk to a person who had 10 years, 15 years, and I go, "What happened?" They go, "I just stopped going. I stopped coming around. I figured I had it. I started coasting. I figured I knew enough that why do I need to keep going back to meetings?" And so I always keep an eye on that, because sometimes I do feel like I know enough at this point that when I go to meetings, it just feels like the same stuff. It's just yeah, I've heard all of these stories over and over and over and over and over again. I don't need to keep hearing the same stories anymore. But I think the part of the program that I really like when I'm doing it, and I think the reason why a person with 7 years should be going back, is to give it back. That when I came in, 7 years ago, I needed people with more time than me to help me. And a bunch of strangers gave me their time and attention. They gave me their phone. They asked for my phone number, and they said, "I'm going to call you tomorrow. Please answer the phone when I call." And I would answer the phone when they would call me, and complete strangers would talk to me on the phone for 30 to 45 minutes. Now, obviously, as a skeptical atheist, I thought I was being groomed to be pulled into a cult. I was like, oh man, but all they were really trying to do is just be like, this is what was done for me, and I'm doing it for you because it helps keep me sober. But I didn't really understand that at the time. But it's sort of the cycle of it was given to you by a bunch of people who did the work for free. They didn't ask anything in return. And they didn't particularly care if I stayed sober or not. If I had just told them all to fuck off and I didn't answer their phone calls, they weren't going to hunt me down or hound me. They just were we're here for you if you want it. No problem if you don't. And so I try to remember that my role as a guy with 7 years isn't to just go so I can hear the same stories over and over again. It's because there's some guy who it's his first day, and he needs me to go over and say, "Hey, give me your phone number. I'm going to call you tomorrow." And he needs me to be that guy who just calls him and listens to him be crazy and stuff. But all that being said, one thing I really like about 12-step work, and there's all these different characteristics of it that I think separate it from religion and from a true cult. And one is that they never claim monopoly on what it is that they do. They never claim a monopoly on, in fact, they specifically go out of their way to say, we do not have a monopoly on recovery. So if there are any people out there who tell me that they found long-term sobriety through any other methodology, I always am just like, right on. I have no problem saying that my methodology is the methodology or the best methodology or anything like that. It's just the methodology that has worked for me thus far. And so when people are struggling with addiction or substance use and they come to me and they say, can you help? I say, all I can do is tell you what I did. And you can try what I did. And I think there's a chance it might work for you the same way it worked for me, but that's all I can offer. So those are kind of my thoughts. Did you have any like more specific probing questions that you were curious about?
I was just generally curious about your experience. Like I said, I've attended for some time, but I went in to get therapy because, fun fact, if you need psychiatric help or a psychologist here in Poland, the quickest way you can achieve that is to go into a clinic and say, hey, I'm addicted. I drink too much. And you'll be spot on. Otherwise, if you have to wait like really long to in a queue to get the help you need. But yeah, I went to therapy. I went through a really intensive program, inpatient, hospitalized for 2 months, and that kind of like changed my life entirely. And it's been a fucking roller coaster ever since. But yeah, I was just I haven't thought of it like in this. I would call it like some kind of social responsibility thing. When you receive something, so you want to give something back to others, and I kind of forgot about that aspect because addictions it's still a thing for me in the sense that I know that I am addicted and that there is no cure for it. I just can get better. And there's one thing that really bugged me at the very beginning, like the religion shit and the thing that like in the preamble, I think that's what it's called. There is a reference to God, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And they quickly just suggest that it doesn't matter. If you believe in a doorknob, it can be a doorknob. Anything that helps you achieve sobriety. And I was, okay, that's cool.
It's an enormously common experience, especially for atheists. I thought I was obviously there's this phrase from 12-step work, terminal uniqueness. And I was convinced that I was so unique in the fact that I was coming into 12-step work as like an atheist who does not belong in a room full of people who are using the God word. And I told every single person that I met my first night, like, hey guys, this was really nice. Thanks for thanks for everything. But like, I don't think this is going to work out. And they were like, why? And I just kept saying, I don't believe in God. And like, I don't want you guys to like try to convince me to believe in God. And everyone that I talked to was like, oh, that's fine. And I just was like, yeah, you say that now, but like, you guys are going to do the hard sell at some point. And everyone was like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Just like, can you come back tomorrow? And I was like, sure, but like, I really am going to be annoyed if you guys start pushing the God shit on me. And they were all just like, yeah, whatever. That's fine. I don't care. Can you come back tomorrow? Like, can you answer the phone when I call? And I just was like, I was convinced that they were going to like spring the trap and at some point be like, and now you got to get baptized. And like, I know that there are people who have gone to 12-step work in really, really conservative areas, like Bible Belt areas in the United States, Deep South, Alabama, South Carolina, Texas, places like this where like the meeting halls are incredibly Christian. And they really make it seem like that is the goal, is to convert you to Christianity. And that fucking sucks because it flies in the face of what the literature literally says. The literature of AA specifically goes out of its way to be non-denominational and to allow room for atheists. Like, they specifically put in the language, a God of your own understanding, so that atheists could have a place in the room. And that was designed by a guy who was an atheist. In the 1950s, there was a guy who was an atheist who went to Bill Wilson and some of the leadership of AA and said, I think you should start adding the language, a God of your own understanding, so that people like me can have an easier time adopting this, because I think a lot of what you guys are doing makes sense from a pragmatic perspective. I just don't buy the whole God thing, and I want that to be okay. And like, they said okay. They were like down with it. They were totally cool with it. And like, my personal experience again has been, I went to AA. I went to AA in Brooklyn, New York. Like, there were a bunch of atheists at the meetings that I was going to. They weren't particularly religious meetings. And then I moved to Los Angeles. And again, there's a bunch of atheists in the meetings that I go to in Los Angeles. So I know that people have had experiences where it feels like there's a lot of religious pressure. That just simply wasn't my experience. In 7 years, nobody has ever asked me what like my higher power is or what my conception of God is. If anybody ever does want to have that discussion, I have no problem telling them that I'm an atheist, and I've never gotten any kind of pushback about that from anyone in the program. So it's a thing that keeps a lot, like, and honestly, as I stayed in, like, every new guy that I would work with would have the exact same experience you told me. They'd be like, yeah, I want to get sober, but I don't like the God stuff. And I'd be like, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And they'd be like, well, I am worried about it. And I'd go, I know, I'm an atheist. I was worried about it too. It's fine. And they'd be like, okay, we'll see. And I'd be like, yeah, I mean, sure. If you stay here for a few weeks and everyone's like forcing Jesus on you, by all means, leave. But I'm not going to do that, and I don't know anybody else here that's going to do that. But like, if that does happen, by all means, But it hasn't happened to me. It hasn't been my experience, and also, it's specifically in the structure of the literature that it's not supposed to happen. Like, that's not supposed to be how the program functions. And when Christian assholes do that stuff, they're doing it wrong, in my opinion, which happens to be correct. So I don't know. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. I was really curious about that. Do you have cravings?
Do I have cravings?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, it's like not nearly as much as I used to, but it's like I was just in Mexico with my family, and I don't really have cravings, but I have the thought, boy, it sure would be nice if I could just hit pause on all this sobriety bullshit and just drink for a week straight, because it would be nice to be at a resort with my girlfriend and my family and just like have a bunch of like pina coladas and mai tais and rummy tropical drinks. Like, I of course I miss drugs and alcohol. They're awesome and they're really fun. I just know that like I know enough about myself now to know like I can't trust myself with it, and so I just don't bother with it. But I don't really have cravings. I just have like the occasional thought like, man, it sure would be nice if I could trust myself to do that and not fuck up my entire life, So, but I have dreams. I have the relapse dreams that a lot of addicts have, where you relapse and then you wake up and you're like, oh, thank God, it was a dream. I think all that stuff is normal, but mostly I just have gratitude that like somehow I've made it this long.
That's really cool. It's always like really nice to hear quote unquote success story. More of a I survived and I got better story, actually. Now, yeah, I was just one of the things that about the drugs and alcohol are fucking dope. One of my therapists said during a group session that I'm not gonna lie, drugs and alcohol are awesome, food is amazing. You're gonna have really awesome fun. Also, you're allergic to that shit, and that's nothing good can happen if you go back to it. So yeah, that's welcome to your new life. Of
Yeah,
course, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen, as I've seen, that like one big thing I've learned in sobriety is that like most people don't use drugs and alcohol the way that I did. Like now that I'm sober and all my friends drink and do drugs occasionally, I get to just like observe what normal behavior looks like around drugs and alcohol. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like there are like most people are just drinking like 3 drinks max. 4 is a lot. And like they're just not using it the way that I was using it, which is like 4 drinks is my base before I leave the apartment to go have like 20 drinks that night, like just, most people
Yeah.
don't drink the way that I do.
Have you had like this sense that my problems are the biggest problems in the world, and I'm like, or no, or the other way that you felt like an imposter going there?
Sure. Yeah.
People have bigger problems.
Yep. Everybody has that. I haven't met a single person who doesn't. That either my problems are way bigger than anything this program could fix, or you hear other people talking about their shit and you're like, well, I've never done anything like that. Like I'll meet a guy who's like talking about, doing sex acts under a bridge to score crack. And I'm like, well, I never did that. So maybe I shouldn't be here, but it's like, it's just like you can answer the question of whether or not your life was manageable while you were doing drugs and alcohol. And, what I also say to people a lot is like, people who don't have a problem with drug and alcohol use don't usually wind up in treatment programs. Like, it's just like, you don't usually find yourself in those rooms or in those areas if there's not something there's not a problem, So
yeah, you usually
also
wouldn't
that
hear
is
from your.
That's called the fallacy of relative privation, by the way. There's actually a word for that when you dismiss problems because there are bigger problems in the world and you shit on yourself or others for that reason. Literally a notable logical fallacy.
Yeah.
I'm back, by the way. I've been
Forrest
over here in
is
my
back if
library
you wanted
digging
to
for some
ask-
shit.
Yeah, Forrest is back if you wanted to ask Forrest your question.
Yeah. I don't remember how I phrased it, but I was interested in how do we know that, for example, how far back can we look into the past, whether when, for example, blue eyes appeared for the first time, or if you have like this mummified carcass, how do you know what skin color they have, or eye color, or anything like that? And also, can we trace neurodivergence somehow, or things like things of the sort? And how far back can we trace them, or is this just like more like anthropology, not like archaeology? Maybe something. I don't really know how to phrase this better way.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So archaeology is actually a subfield of anthropology, and it depends. So here in the United States, we have 4 fields of anthropology, and those are cultural anthropology, biological anthropology, archaeology, and linguistics. That's how we split it up. But other parts of the world, they separate archaeology as its own entire thing, or linguistics as its own entire thing, or biological anthropology is its own, whatever else. So like it's split differently in other places. Here in America, here in the US, it's all contained. That said, the answer to your question is DNA. We can do what's called ancient DNA, which you write it as small a and then capital DNA. Kind of like messenger RNA is little m, and then RNA. DNA is ancient DNA. And while Austin was speaking to you, I was back here pulling book after book after book off of my bookshelf. I pulled out my bioanthro textbook and my genetics textbook and one of these other ones over here. I was like pulling. I've got the human ecology textbook. methods in paleoecology, all these. I was just digging through these to try to find a goddamn thing about ancient DNA because I know it's a thing. And I finally fucking found one book that has it in there. It's the Archaeologist Laboratory from Springer. And this in here has this little section about ancient DNA that I've been sitting here perusing to try to make sure I'm not giving you false information. Could have Googled it, but where's the fun in that? Why do I have these fucking things? If and so, fun fact: DNA does degrade over time, but it can be preserved under ideal conditions, up to a few 100,000 years. So all of human history is covered in that because humans are only about 300,000 years old at the latest. Our species of humans, anyway. And so when we pull up people like Cheddar Man, for example, we can tell this person had dark skin and blue eyes because of ancient DNA sequencing. And so what we do, we don't have their whole genome. It's usually somewhat degraded. And even then, we can only get it from certain things like certain parts of temporal bone, teeth, just like these little places where you might have some scrippins of DNA saved. And then we do what's called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction, which for those who aren't familiar, what you do, it's also known as gene amplification. You take this little piece of DNA and you make its match and you put them together in a soup that gets hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold over and over again. And you throw in an enzyme called polymerase, specifically one called TAC polymerase, because that is a polymerase enzyme that is resistant to heat. And what polymerase does is it takes those two pieces of DNA and it sticks them together and it duplicates that DNA together. So you have this long chain of DNA that you took from the sample, and you get a little tiny piece, what you call a primer, that you put in there. That primer, let me draw this so it makes sense. You take your sample DNA here. Here's your sample DNA. And you get it hot so that it breaks apart. It denatures, right? So you get it hot so it falls apart, and you have these two pieces of sample DNA here. And then you add a primer, which is whatever it is you're looking for, whatever it is you're trying to see if it's there. So here's your primer right here. And that, when the DNA gets cold, is going to stick onto there and bind to it. Then polymerase comes in and attaches where it finds, hey, here's some DNA that isn't complete, because polymerase is what your cells use when they're replicating DNA anyway. And it's going to come in here and now build the rest of this DNA molecule. And then you have a complete molecule here, and then you get it hot again, and it breaks apart again, and then the primer sticks on it again, and then TAC comes in here and builds it again. And then you get it hot again, and then polymerase builds another one, and another one, and another one. And you run this for like fucking 4 bazillion cycles for hours and hours and hours. And after a little while, you have so much DNA that you can literally like see the jar is cloudy. It's like you can see it with your eyes. It's so much in there. So this is what we call gene amplification. And then you have all this DNA that you can then run tests on. You can do gene sequencing on that. And you can say, okay, this dude has the genes for blue eyes, or brown hair, for whatever. We can now figure out what this person looked like a little bit. And we can do that on animals sometimes too. If you're doing what's called zoological archaeology, or zooarch, or zooarchaeology, that's a cool thing. You can do that on those, and you can learn about their environments as well. So that's the long and short of it.
Zork sounds like a Superman villain name.
Yeah, it's also what I did for my first master's. I did zooarch research. I ground up the enamel on deer teeth from 1.5 million years ago to see what kind of plants they were eating and what kind of the temperature or climate were they living in. So that way I could figure out what was going on with the Homo erectus that were living in that same region, and what selection pressures were acting on them, and what that tells us about how humans evolved. It's a fucking fun way to do stuff. If you like teeth.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. Also, Erectus will never stop making me laugh, because apparently my sense of humor peaked at 14. Yeah, that's
likewise
cool. There's so much to learn, and have the feeling that I've wasted so much time. I have a BA in linguistics, so that's kind of also my interest.
Nice.
And I was thinking about going to do a master's in linguistics. But yeah, I don't know if I had anything. Oh, I wanted to brag that I got the biology textbook, Campbell 12th edition.
Yeah.
Been showing it off for some time now. Oh, and if I may, someone was calling about trans stuff. Can I just noted down just few sentences just off the top of my head about gender dysphoria. I'm living with gender dysphoria, and it's not that I can not feel gender dysphoria. I've got reference to an actual sex clinic because in Poland we still have the 10th edition of the International Classification of Diseases. So I got referred for transsexualism instead of gender incongruence, but whatever. So yeah, I cannot not live without gender dysphoria. It's not something I can just get over. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel actually excited to learn something new about me. So that's fun.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. And it was really surprising because I'm going through a really difficult depressive episode with suicide ideation, but whatever. And regarding one more thing, like I do see men and women doing different stuff, and they don't align with the stereotypical meaning, stereotypical seeing or viewing of gender roles or whatever. I just see men and women, and I know that I would do absolutely anything to be in a different body and do the same shit that I'm doing right now, just in a different body. Because yeah, under dysphoria. So that was just
love that.
A few of my thoughts. Oh, and I do know far more about your language than you do.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's such especially with English. English is so stupid. Well, Chris, I appreciate the call, and I'm sorry you're going through hard times. Don't fucking kill yourself. I'll be mad at you. And also, I'm glad to hear that you have something exciting to learn about yourself and to learn more science. Linguistics is just fucking awesome. It's really cool. I wish I did it, but it's just not something that I can get into too much. But it's something that is definitely a little hobby for me.
That's so cool. Thank you.
So I think you should pursue it. It's really cool. Yeah, thank you for calling in.
Cool. Okay.
Take care. See you later.
So again, and talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What an awesome person.
Yeah. Great call, Chris.
Really, really productive call. I think you covered a lot of really intense shit that you said some shit that I had my earphone in the whole time. I had to leave the room for a second. Then I was back here digging through my books, and you said some shit that blew my mind. It was really cool. We've got
Go ahead.
We've got 2 calls left because one of them dropped. We've got one about evolution and one about abortion. Which one are we doing first?
Oh man, that abortion one is so interesting. I'm so curious about what that means.
Yeah, let's do that one. Let's talk to Rolo, pronouns he and him, calling in from Mexico, who says this is what it says: atheists should be pro-life and theists should be pro-abortion. What does that mean? Hey, Rolo, you're on the line with Forrest and Austin. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all doing?
I'm all right.
Doing all right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all taking my call, and it's always great that people defend their worldviews and I think it's great. It's courageous.
Right on. So what are you telling us? You said that atheists should be pro-life and stuff. What is that? Where are you coming from with this?
Yeah, I think in the general sense, atheists believe that there's just one life, and that's it. You're done. We don't believe in an afterlife. And theists, in the general sense, they do believe in an afterlife. And most of those people believe that little kids, even unborn kids, go straight to baby Jesus or whatever, whatever God that would be.
Okay. But the issue is, like, when we talk about abortion, like, I don't base my stance on abortion on who is or isn't alive in that way, or like whether or not this fetus is a living thing or a human or anything like that. That's not where I get my stance on abortion. I could grant that I could grant that from the moment of conception, this thing is a full-fledged human with every right as everybody else and has one life and all this stuff, and I would still have the exact same stance on abortion because that's not where my stance is grounded.
So it's bodily autonomy?
Yeah. It's about someone with a uterus doesn't need to let someone else live in their uterus just because.
Well, let me ask you a question. Who do you think should be responsible for the well-being of a newborn baby human, just by default?
What if that human is already born? It would be preferable that their parent or parents, are responsible for their well-being. That isn't always the case. So I would just say, like, the blanket answer I would give is someone. Someone should, ideally a parent or parents, but that's not always possible. But that's only after they are born.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking, when you say parents, you mean the biological parents?
No.
Okay.
I mean, whoever has chosen to take on this child as a living thing and take care of them, adoptive parents or parents. Yeah, adoptive parents
the
or parents.
question I'm
And
asking
if there are no parents involved,
default,
then someone, the government would have to have humans that do these things.
Sure. If nobody steps in, no government, no grandparents, no adoptive parents, just by default, who do you think that should be? The biological parents?
Well, if no one steps in, then the biological parents also aren't there.
Also what?
If no one steps in, the biological parents are people. So if no one is stepping in to take care of this child, then the child is dead. I don't understand what you mean by default here.
Yeah, by default.
Someone.
Because, someone has to step in. If nobody steps in, meaning nobody like the government or the grandparents or the neighbors or some adoptive parents, who should be responsible? I think the biological parents, but I don't know.
Okay, what I keep trying to drive at here.
Do you think it should be by default the biological parents?
But like I can tell you're going somewhere with this. The problem is I'm not apparently on the script that you're trying to run here, because again, like if somebody poops out this baby, then like sure, they're probably first in line to take care of it, but that's not always possible. So I'm not going to say they should. It's that the should falls on any adult that is capable.
Okay, so going with that logic, let's say my neighbors, they arrive home with a newborn baby, and suddenly they leave. They don't come back for days. Should I be responsible to take care of that baby? I don't think so.
Yes, you are not legally probably, but morally, yeah. If you see an unattended starving child, you should do something about that. Even if you don't take them on forever, you should make sure that that child is then taken to someone who could do that. Every person around you is your responsibility.
Let's go with the moral. Would I feel bad morally if that newborn baby dies? Sure, but nothing would really or should really happen to me. Nothing legally. I shouldn't be arrested. I shouldn't get like a fine or anything like that. Sure, I might feel bad.
Who's talking about legality?
And other people should be bad. Well,
who's talking about legality? Are you asking me a legal argument or a moral argument?
Let's go with the legal argument, because in a moral argument.
Okay, well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what the legal argument is.
No, well, it's not an exact. You should get a $350 fine or 851 days in jail. Nothing like that. I'm asking like in a general sense, what should happen to me if the kid next door dies? Nothing.
Rollo,
I don't know.
We're kind of coming to the end of our show here. What do you mean? What are you driving at? Like, what's the point of
I'm
what you're trying
driving at
to?
is that when somebody is born, somebody should be responsible, and by default, it should be the biological parents. Why? Because in the general sense, they made the decision to have sex, and the new human was created because of that act.
What if they didn't? What if it's a child of rape or something?
They didn't what? Okay.
What if they didn't have that decision?
I can contend with that argument. That's a very small percentage. I can contend with that argument. That's like a 2% cases of abortion. And let me real quick. In the cases of rape, if the mother chooses to abort the baby, I think personally, the rapist should be charged with some sort of murder or manslaughter. Me personally.
Okay.
Because that's the one
that doesn't get us anywhere. So
the rapist is the one that made the decision.
Okay, that's great. So like, where are we going here? Because like I don't understand how this gets us around to abortion. You're saying that if someone decides to have a child, then they should be responsible for that child. Okay, great. How does this get us to abortion?
Okay, let's go one step back. Since somebody made the decision to have sex voluntarily, now you created a situation for a new human that needs care.
Mm-hmm.
And who should be responsible? If it has the same rights as a born human, then somebody should be taking care of it.
Okay. So that's after it's born, right?
Before and after, it's still a human. You conceded that at the moment of conception, it's a full human with full human rights.
So then, if it's a full human rights, it should be taken care of. But here's the question. Here's just, let me help you here.
Go ahead.
If like my mother has the same blood type that I do, so if I go into renal failure or I need a blood transfusion or something like that, for some reason I need blood right now, I stick a needle with a tube attached to it into my mom, and I stick the other side of the tube into me, and I am taking her blood. Is she forced to participate in this? Do you think that she is morally, she has to give me her blood, and she has to, if I need a kidney, she has to give me her kidney?
Okay, the answer to your question is no, and it's disanalogous with pregnancy. Let me give you a more
what's the
accurate
difference?
Analogy.
So what's the difference? No, we're going to stick on this one for a second because I want to understand. What's the difference between me as a born person living, walking around out here in the world and me in the womb that out here, I do not have the right to forcibly use her body to sustain myself. But when I'm in the womb, I do have the right to forcibly use her body to sustain myself. And she does have that obligation.
Okay. Here it is. Because your mother, the one that you're going to take the blood from, she did not cause your disease. She did not cause your peril. She did not cause your predicament. That's why. It's disanalogous.
So then can we say, sorry, just really quick, can we then say that my mother had no need to feed me because she did not cause my hunger?
Do you mean when you're a baby?
At any time during my life. She sustained me. While I was developing, she gave birth to me, and now I am my own free person in the world. I developed hunger all on my own. She didn't cause it. Does she still have the need to feed me?
Did she know that you were going to be hungry and you couldn't feed yourself? If the answer is yes, then yes.
Okay, so it's a known thing. So then if I am born and the doctor, while I'm developing, does an ultrasound and said, hey, this kid doesn't have fucking functional kidneys, he is going to be born needing organs and blood transfusions. So then when I'm born, she does have a responsibility to give me her blood and her organs when I'm alive. Is that correct?
Okay. Say that again. I couldn't hear the first part.
So you said about hunger that she would have reasonably known that I was going to become hungry. And so she has that responsibility. So if while I'm developing, the doctors say, hey, this kid you're about to give birth to is going to have XYZ medical problem and is going to need blood and organs in their life. And she continues to have the pregnancy and she delivers me as a baby. Now she knew I was going to need organs and blood. Does she have the moral responsibility to give me those organs and blood?
I would say that's a pretty good question. Let me think about it for 1 second.
Yep.
I would say no. I would say no.
Okay. So what's the difference? Again, what rights did I lose while, on the way through the birth canal? What rights did I lose and what rights did she gain that now I am no longer entitled to her body? Whereas before, I had the right to use her body against her will to sustain myself. And after I'm born, she has this obligation to continue to use her life to sustain me through feeding me, clothing me, housing me, all this stuff. So what is the difference here? What rights did I lose and gain and all this stuff just in the process of birth? How does that work?
Okay. That's actually a pretty good question. Why not?
I have one more question for you when you answer that.
I'm gonna have to think about that one. That was pretty good. I'm gonna have to think about it.
My last question for you, Rolo, is still about rights. What right do you have?
Okay.
What right do you have to force someone to be pregnant against their will?
Well, I would say it this way. If I'm walking by a pool and I see somebody that's drowning, I don't have an obligation to go in and save them. They don't have a right to use my body to save them. And well, let's change it a bit. If I'm the one that pushed them in, And if I don't jump in to save them, and they die, they drown, I should be legally responsible for their death. I should have used my body to save them. Now, if we move that analogy to somebody standing on the edge of a cliff, and I'm the one that pushed them, and they turn around and they grab my wrist, they grab in my body, should I have the right to say, no, let go of my wrist? It's my body, it's my choice. Let go of my wrist. Can I pry their grip from my wrist and not suffer any legal consequences?
But surely you see that there is a difference. Yeah, surely you see that there is a definitive difference between actively killing someone and just terminating a pregnancy, right?
What do you mean terminating a pregnancy? Because a C-section could be the termination of a pregnancy.
Strictly speaking, any kind of birth is, but like when we talk about what abortion actually is, abortion is just the premature ending of a pregnancy. Medically speaking, miscarriage is called spontaneous abortion. So like anytime a pregnancy ends, that isn't like actually giving birth or having a C-section, that is some sort of an abortion. And so if I'm pregnant and I don't want to be anymore, there is a fundamental difference between saying you are not allowed to use my body to live and actually pushing someone off a cliff and saying you can't hold on to me anymore. Those are very different things.
It's actually the same thing, because you're starting a process the same way you're having sex, and that's a natural process, the conception process, and pushing somebody over the edge. Something starts, life starts, and gravity takes over. Okay, and the fetus or the zygote, whatever it's inside, they're using your body to stay alive the same way that the person going over is using your body to stay alive, using your wrist to stay alive.
Right. But that's I feel like the fundamental hang up here that I'm like stuck on is that, and I'm gonna read a bit into this, and it's gonna sound crazy first, but like just bear with me for a second. The fundamental hang up that I have here is that the analogy that you are using is one of a crime, a sin, for lack of a better word, right? You are comparing the act of sex to something that is already evil that you now have to make right by pulling this person up or do more harm by letting them go. And I feel like that fundamentally is the problem. Like, nobody, like, consent to sex is not a bad thing, and it's not consent to pregnancy. And even if you did consent to pregnancy, that isn't the same thing as consenting to stay pregnant. Lots of shit happens. Your life changes, your health changes. There might be a developmental issue with the baby. There might be a major issue with you, an economic issue, a social issue, a health issue, a million different things. Or it was an accident, or it was whatever. Like, this is not just a situation where it's like, I have baby and now fuck baby. Like, that's not how that works. At the like baseline here, the only way to guarantee that all of this is equal and safe and everybody is free is to make sure that the right to your preservation of your body and your autonomy is the central question. So comparing getting pregnant to deliberately pushing someone off a cliff, it's just not. I understand where you're trying to come from here, but it's just not a good analogy, and it's not in any way indicative of the situation, which is that you are forcibly using someone's body to sustain your life against their will. And you don't have the right to do that ever, period. So, like, morally, do I have to pull someone up from a cliff? Sure. Morally, does my mother have to give me her liver? No. Those are very different things.
In the liver case, I would have to think about it for a little bit. But in the other one, you just admitted that you are obligated to pull that person from the edge.
But we also talked about how
Even
they're
though
two
you
different
have
things.
bodily autonomy to your
They're two very
will, you
different
have your
things.
bodily
Right,
autonomy
but they're
to
two
your
different.
you
Morello, it
put
doesn't matter.
somebody
Morello, it doesn't matter. They're two
in-
different things. That's the point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that
well, of
like you
course,
might be like
if
morally
it wasn't a
obligated
different
to like.
thing, it wouldn't be an analogy. It would just be equal.
No, Rolo, it doesn't matter that you might be morally obligated to help someone who's in danger. You see somebody who's gripping the edge of a cliff and you have the opportunity to go over and help them, that it might morally make sense to go and try to do that. It's a completely different thing from saying, this person is the only person in the world who has my specific blood type. Therefore, I am going to take the blood from them and put it in my body, whether they want it or not. I have a right to harvest what I need to survive from this person. Not without that person's consent, I don't. That person is allowed to not consent to me doing that. That's the distinction. That's the distinction being made. I'm still curious why your position is that atheists should be pro-life and theists should be pro-abortion. We're on this whole conversation just about like the morality of abortion and bodily autonomy. I still don't know why you think atheists should be the ones who are pro-life. I don't get how you arrive at that conclusion.
Well, I mentioned it in the beginning because in the general sense, atheists believe that there's just one life, and most of them believe in an afterlife, and little kids or unborn babies go straight to heaven.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I guess, sure. I guess then in that sense, I guess I would agree with you that it's like, yeah, I don't know why theists are so mad. That baby's getting a one-way ticket straight to heaven. What's wrong with that? I guess in that case, like, according to their beliefs, but I don't know why atheists should be pro-life. I don't think just because, you have one shot at being conscious means that it's the best
Everybody
possible
has to be.
situation. The best possible situation for every single fetus that's growing in utero is to be born. It's not. It's just not the best possible situation for there's so many different situations where like the better choice is to terminate the pregnancy. And frankly, what it really comes down to, I think what Forrest was demonstrating is it really comes down to bodily autonomy. So whether the reason is incest, rape, or something else is just none of your goddamn business. Nobody, you don't get to force anyone else to do something with their body against their will.
Okay.
And that's the long and short of it, man. Hope this answers your question.
Forrest's analogy about the baby needing the liver transplant. It was a good question. So I'm going to think about that one. And I guess
cool.
All
right.
We'll talk to you later on then, man. Call back sometime.
Right on.
All right. I will. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You too.
Later, Rollo.
That went better than I thought it would, to be honest with you. Several of these calls, I was wondering, like, is my troll dar going off? What's going on? And it was functional. We got our last call of the night, and it's about evolution, and I'm going to make Austin answer it. We got Felix, who wants to talk about how evolution affects populations. You were on the line, and you're our very last call, so make it good.
Yeah, I feel like the last kid picked in gym class right now, dude. This sucks.
I'm sorry. It's because you're an atheist caller with a science question, and so those come last. I'm sorry.
I get it. No, I totally understand, dude. It's cool. It's cool. So it's cool to talk to both of you. Forrest, big fucking fan, dude. Like, so you're like in my top 5 on my YouTube rap this year. Like, I watch your shit, bro.
Man.
And then Austin.
I'm so sorry to put you through that.
I have a question. Bro, stop saying that, bro, because then you're like, I'm not so smart. Dude, you're smarter than like 99% of the people I've ever listened to. And like when you say you're not that smart, it makes me feel like even more of a dumbass than I already am. So please stop saying that, dude. You're one of the smartest fucking people I know.
That's very kind of you to say, and I have a hard time believing that a lot of the time. So it's very nice of you to say. What do you want to talk about?
I often say Forrest is one of the smartest people I've ever met. So
quit it.
I swear, I learned, dude. I learned so much from you. Learned so much from you, dude.
Yeah.
So that's why I bring this question to you, because I know, I watched your Light of Evolution series. I think twice over. I love that shit. My question is I'm not an evolution denier. I'm with it. I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around how it affects populations. It's just something that's don't get how that works.
Okay. So remember, evolution is only happening in populations. So what do you mean exactly when you say how it affects them?
Okay, so let me see how. That's the thing. It's kind of hard to even ask the question. Let's see. So I understand evolution is any change in heritable traits within populations over generations, all that. I don't okay. So my mom passed down her gene. My parents passed their genes on to me. I don't. Okay. You know what? Man, how do I even ask this question? It's kind of. I'm on the spot with the smart dude, so it's really kind of tough. Let's see. I don't know, man. It's so I'm thinking there's locusts or what grasshoppers, whichever ones. There's billions of them in a swarm and everything like that. How does evolution affect every single member of that population? If that makes sense, so they're all the same species, and I understand that their species means that they're able to species even a real thing. It's just organisms that are able to reproduce with each other and produce viable offspring. It's I'm not getting how. Man, this is a hard question to even ask.
So
I've had 3 hours to think about it.
It's okay. It's okay. I appreciate you waiting. You did wait for fucking 3 hours and 19 minutes. My God. It's important to remember that when we talk about the populations aren't necessarily made up of individuals, right? And so every one of those individuals has, their own particular traits that they can pass on. So when we talk about evolution affecting populations, this is where it gets tricky. How do I say it? Okay. Citizens United? You know what that is?
Yes.
Okay. So corporations are made of people, but we treat a whole corporation like one person, right? Exactly the same thing. Yeah, exactly the same thing here. So the population is, of course, made up of individuals. When we're measuring evolution, when we're talking about this stuff, we are looking at the population as one whole thing. So we're looking at the metagenome, the whole whatever of the population. And so, for example, this is a fun equation that I showed on one of the shows a little while ago. It's called Breeder's equation. And so it's R equals H squared times S. There we go. And so this is a way to calculate. I'm going to move over a little bit. Calculate the response to selection that you're seeing, how evolution is affecting a population. So R, like I said, that is actually, let me start over here. H squared. H squared is the heritability of a trait. It is the genetic variance of that trait divided by the total phenotypic variance. So the genetic variance versus phenotypic variance, and that gives you how heritable that trait actually is. And you multiply that by what we call the selection differential. That's what S is. And that is the difference between the average phenotype after whatever selection event took place versus before. So you say, for example, I have this population of deer, and the males have antlers that are this big with this many points. And then hunters come in, and they want the ones that have big antlers to put on their wall as trophies, because they're fucking weird like that. And so they kill all the ones with really big antlers, and we have a population reduction where now, from this generation to the next generation, the average antler size has gone down this much. So that's our selection differential. And then the response to selection, our R value over here, is the phenotype just alone, just the phenotype in the last generation versus this generation, the response to that selection that happened. And so this is a thing that we can mathematically calculate. What is actually changing in this population from one generation to the next in response to a very specific selection pressure? Does that make sense?
It makes total fucking sense, dude. Like, I think I just needed to hear
Hell
it
yeah.
put that way from someone. Like, I'm not around any. I don't know any biologists in my personal life, man. Like, I think I just needed to. This is the first time I've been able to ask this question to someone who's knowledgeable on the topic. So I can't wait to watch this back and like really get a grasp on what you just said. But I thought, yes, it does make sense.
That is called Breeder's equation, spelled exactly the way that you think it is. BREEDER apostrophe S. So you can look that up if you want and dig into it more. And there's a shitload more to this. How old are you, Felix?
I'm 30 years old, man.
Hell yeah. If you don't have any biologists around you, I encourage you to go to your local community college and start poking at some, because I guarantee they want to share with you some cool shit.
Yeah, man.
And I started.
I
That's where I started. I got my first. I have 3 associate's degrees from Tulsa Community College. Fucking love that place, dude.
I mean, I did do a little community college back in my early 20s, and life got in the way, and I need to get back into school. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you, Forrest. I'm not trying to like hype you up or anything. I've never ever once in my life thought about going to school for biology. But I swear, like I said, you're in my top 5 of my YouTube rap, dude. Like you got me so into this shit. Like,
dude,
bro,
biology.
I don't want to be corny, bro, but I can't say thank you enough to you, dude. Because like you're the shit, bro. You're the shit.
That's really, really kind of you. Thank you. And let me tell you, dude, biology is so. I don't have to tell you, biology is fucking awesome. And I can tell you that, like, I was convinced when I was younger that I was too stupid for all this shit and I would never want to do it. And if you told me when I was 22 that the kind of shit that I would have learned and been able to accomplish and be teaching and doing shit in my research right now, I would have thought you were fucking nuts. So just don't be like, I think that's what I'm trying to get across. That's a really good question that you asked. That is a great question that shows you're actively thinking about this shit and you're not just passively absorbing information. And that's a great fucking thing. So if that is how you're handling this right now, and if math like that clicked for you in any kind of way, you are worlds ahead of most freshman biology students. So I'm not telling you what to do with your life. If you don't want to go to school, school isn't for everybody. But if this shit really interests you, it's worth the time. You are worth the time it takes to learn some really cool fucking science. And community college is the shit. You take the same intro bio class there as you do at fucking MIT, and it's cheap. So go learn some shit, have some fun, learn some shit. And worst case scenario, you learn some shit and you don't do anything with your career. And who cares? Because community colleges are made for working adults anyway, so they don't have the same expectations. Just it's there for you to be flexible and to learn what you want to learn. So I think you should do it if you want to do it, and if not, then don't, or whatever. I'm not a cop. I'm not telling you what do you want to do.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that, dude. Appreciate that a lot. I know it's late and y'all gotta go. I had a real quick bone to pick with you, Forrest. On one of your videos of John and Jane, you walked away and made yourself a quesadilla, and you asked the audience if we would also like a quesadilla. I said yes, and I still have not received my fucking quesadilla. So if I ever run into you, bro, you owe me a quesadilla.
It got lost in the mail. I'm sorry. I sent them out, but here we are.
Forrest out here writing checks his ass can't cash. You know?
Damn, Forrest. Okay, and I lied. I have one more thing. Austin.
Yes.
Dude, this is random. Bro, are you the fucking dude who made the congratulations? That was one of the stupidest things that I ever heard. Is that you, dude?
That's me, yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's fucking cool. Oh, bro, that's one of my favorite videos ever. You should. That needs to be a full fucking song. That's a banger. People like you make me sad. That's my shit.
I think it's the most popular thing I've ever made, and it was totally just a random day. I had no idea that people would like it that much, but I'm glad you dig that.
I think that was how I
Tick
discovered your
moved in the
channel
video,
too. I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
I think that is how I discovered you as well.
I've been watching on the line.
That one.
Yeah.
That one and the one where you made the video about like, if I have a turtleneck and a chain, you can't stop me. It's so fucking
Oh
nuts.
yeah. It was like I was like
Dude,
wearing
holy
bucket
shit.
hats and like cut off sleeve shirts, and I was like, you
Bucket
can't do
hats.
anything. You can't stop me. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Dude, that's fucking cool, man. That's dope.
Felix, this has
You
been
made
great,
a
man.
banger
Thank you
and
so
a
much for
classic.
waiting. Thank you so much for waiting for so long, and thank you for being the best. You know, a great ending to the show. This is a perfect call.
Hey man, I appreciate y'all, man. Love what y'all do, and just thank y'all. Y'all have a great night, all right?
Thanks,
You
Felix.
too, dude. Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Bye.
Take it easy.
This is
Cool.
a phenomenal show, y'all.
Yeah. I only yelled at one guy, and he deserved it.
You know what? Next time we'll be more angry, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
It's just honestly, this is fantastic. Austin, any words of wisdom before we proceed to wrap up?
Keep your eyes peeled for when we're doing mug stuff, because you can get a mug like this. You can drink fresh squeezed adrenochrome like me, or whatever the other mugs that the other hosts design. Because that's happening soonish, I think. But I don't know. We had a lot of, we had a lot of open-minded people who called in with like strong opinions and ended the call being like, "Good points, guys. I'll think more about that." Keep that energy. That's good.
We are professional debaters here to debate all over you. You know what I mean? This is going on the resume. This is the show that I'm going to show people like, no, actually, I do things that aren't just screaming at idiots on the internet. Here it is, This is a good one. With that, thank you so much for tuning in tonight for this episode of the Sunday Show After Dark. Thank you to Austin for being an amazing host and an amazing friend. Thank you so much to Luxander for producing tonight. Thank you to Stephanie for call screening tonight. Thank you to our mods in chat for keeping things civil. Thank you so much to the people in chat, even the ones that sucked. Thank you to our callers, even the ones that sucked. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and never stop learning. Bye.